I am heavy bored.
I may say that the male is entirely hostile. No! In
Resources.
life, friends, is boring. We must not say so.
All right, man. Modern Family season 7. The seventh season. It is.
Yeah.
It's maybe we talked again, listeners, go back and listen to this whole thing. It's in season 6 we noticed was the turning point, and then in season 5 we discussed that there was a little tussle in the writers' room where things got shifted around. So, it's just that's why I wanted to do the whole thing here, and it's just like because we it's important to see how that happens. Just a small tussle in the writers' room can then, compound very quickly into like 2 seasons later, maybe even having most of the writers' room replaced at that point. It feels like that at some time throughout this season, and I noticed a little bit of different tone last season, but this season felt like the writing was just like they might have just cleaned house in the writers' room or something. I don't know. I mean,
Yeah, the writing's a lot different. Sense of humor is a little bit different. Some characters take some turns that I don't know whether they just got bored with some characters and just let them spin their wheels and concentrate on other ones. But yeah, it seemed like almost that there wasn't anyone in like a real, what do they call it? Showrunner. Like the showrunner wasn't like consistent time. It just seems like a lot of different people writing different episodes, so that sort of that they had earlier on is kind of lost.
yeah, I wonder if because I mean, Steve Levitan and Christopher Lloyd are still there, right? At this point, like oversaw the whole all 11 seasons, I think, right? Like they
Yeah.
ran the show for all 11 seasons. But yeah, it does feel like maybe again, I don't we're speculating listeners, but it does go in with the thesis here where it's like, this is if you were to step in as a straight white male should being in charge of the show, right? Like if you were to do that, there would be some blowback just because of the cultural shift that was happening. I don't know if maybe they felt like they couldn't overstep certain things, or maybe they were trying to be nice to a few woman writers. It seems like that might have been the case. Especially, yeah, we'll get to specific examples of this where I think there's a distinctly female kind of tone to certain writing that I just wasn't there before, or before it wasn't obvious. It was always just blended in perfectly. You couldn't tell. There's sometimes where like a Cam and Mitch bit we've talked about before where you can tell, like, oh yeah, a gay guy wrote this because only a gay guy could come up with this and find the best bit to go in a sitcom about it. So there were little things like that, and then obviously little thing, and of course you want that in a writer's room. You want all those perspectives and like helping to form the character. But yeah, I don't know. It just felt like there was something. Maybe it was just at this point they were so famous they could do whatever. They were just I don't know. But like you said last episode, season 6 was the first season they didn't win the Emmy. They'd won it every single season up until then. And it could have been a couple different things. We speculated on that last episode, listeners. Could be that just, the voters were tired of voting for Modern Family after 5 years. It could be that the product, like we talked about on last episode, was kind of inferior in season 6 compared to season 5, season 4, all the previous seasons. Could be that. Could be that, yeah, something else is just there. But the main thing is that this, and Eric and I were texting about this, like this might be, Eric was talking about it's kind of the jump the shark season. This is the season where there's a few questionable things being done with the characters that don't quite make sense. And of course, it's a sitcom, right? Like characters can do whatever and it doesn't really matter. We mentioned some stuff in the first couple of episodes. Like there would just be like a random thing like Phil's a masseuse or something just thrown in there. Then that's like, okay, whatever. Like that's just what happens in sitcoms. Like sometimes they have to throw something in there like that, and it's funny usually, makes it work. But this just felt like, I don't know, just way out of left field. And we'll get to some specific examples with certain characters, mainly the children, because the children, it's one of those things when you cast kids, and they're not the only sitcom to have this happen to them, but like, you cast them young and they're one thing when they're young, but then they mature and go through puberty, and now you have these young adults basically. As all the kids are young adults now, besides Joe and Lily. Like, and of course everybody's personality changes and stuff like that, so you can kind of go any direction, but it just seems a little confusing. And they kind of make them all generically the same in a weird way. Like nobody knows how to write children in that writer's room or something. Like they used to. They used to do it, but now all of a sudden it's like I don't know. There's just a weird vibe with some of this. But all right, this one's the one 2015, 2016 was the air date. Probably most of these are written 2015.
Mhm.
So even before the Trump cultural shift post-Trump election. But I don't know, just something about it. But okay, Eric, yeah. How did it watch for you for season seven compared to the other ones?
I mean, a lot of the jokes, this is kind of the first season where we see them make the jokes that, they soon would stop making uh, later on, but they're still making them, but always with like an apology
Yeah.
right after them. Also, this season goes a lot more for sweet moments rather than funny moments. And there are just a lot of moments where there's no laughter at all in several episodes, and it's just this sweet bonding moment between um, Phil and Alex, or Claire and Haley, or Manny and Jay. There's a lot more of that, which feels like when comedians try to like go for applause rather than laughter.
Oh yeah.
It's considered like, and it's not comedy. They're just saying something that people agree with. So and it's just kind of filler. And it's like, what are you doing? You're a comedian. You're not supposed to be like giving your opinions for like approval and applause. You're supposed to be funny. And I feel that's kind of what they're doing here with some of those sweet moments. They're going for the ah rather than the laugh.
That's
Um, yeah.
that's one thing I wanted to ask you about is as I was watching through this season, and I kept asking myself, am I just in a mood or something? Because I watched this over 4 or 5 days, throughout the week here, watching a couple episodes at a time. Whatever. I think there's 22-minute episodes most of the time, so you can watch, I'll watch five, six at a time, an hour and a half, 2 hours of just before bed taking notes. But it's just like I was watching, I remember being like, why am I not laughing? Like I remember thinking like it seemed like there were less jokes, or the jokes were just don't hold up like the first five seasons had, kind of classic sitcom gags. And there's still some classic sitcom gags that I tried to write down as I was watching through here
Mhm.
that are great and funny. And again, there's still funny bits. Most of these are still done with the humor in mind, but yeah, just less laughs this season. And I would have probably only noticed that because we're watching them like in sequence like this, one after the other, pretty quickly, as listeners know. But yeah, I was just like, man, I wanted to ask you, did you see like less laughs, like just less, like kind of, because we kept talking about like joke per minute basically in the first couple episodes of this and how great and well crafted. And this one, it just felt like the jokes were drawn out or
Mhm.
even like didn't land as you're rewatching, 10 years later.
Yeah, a lot didn't land. A lot were just like very basic sitcom jokes, like, oh, we need a joke in here. This is funny enough. We'll go with that. Whereas the first few seasons, they didn't do that. Everything, like almost every joke, killed. And this season, it's like they got a little tired. Like they
Yeah.
know they needed those same jokes per minute, but not every joke needed to be as good. And that's kind of why it's like, yeah, it wasn't as funny, especially a lot of Luke and Manny's jokes. They could have been a lot funnier. They could have gone a lot like darker or raunchier, but they didn't. They kept it kind of like very tame sense of humor, very PG sense of humor.
Yeah. And that's the reason that, again, this maps the culture so perfectly because that was becoming a thing in the culture. It wasn't full blown woke yet, but I was in college at the time. I was in grad school and all of that. Like these things were starting to be very prevalent. Everybody who was online, I know it's hard, everything blurs together online, but you just kind of look back at that time. There was the kind of scolding, policing, public shaming type thing that became synonymous with wokeness, like almost like they were afraid to make certain jokes, but then also there were some really kind of raunchy ones that I thought they wouldn't have made that didn't even make, like, Claire seeing Manny naked or whatever, that we'll get to that. Like I just thought the way it was handled in the show was just so strange, like
Mhm.
especially given the family dynamic, like it's his aunt slash stepsister, like not the end of the world. Like it's not even that it's awkward, but it's not like just the way they handled it made it seem like it was two lovers or two teens,
Yeah.
talking about it instead of like this much older aunt slash stepsister that is like, just something happened, whatever. Like
Mhm.
nobody would know. It's like this big thing for Manny that whole up. I don't know. It's just kind of things like that where I just noticed just this weird dynamic changing in it. It's kind of, I mean, everybody talks about the woke thing that happened, and I know maybe listeners are tired of hearing about it, but whatever. This is like, it was all at once. Like, it was just this kind of all of a sudden, there were new rules, and everybody was confused, and nobody knew what to do, and everybody was walking on eggshells. It's almost, and it isn't quite that bad yet. It's that really happened post the Trump election, but like, man, I just couldn't believe, I couldn't believe, like how stark it was, like how all of a sudden it felt like, yeah, I don't know. And this was the first season with only 22 episodes, so even the networks cut trimming 2 episodes a season now. And I checked because I was confused. I was like, wait a minute, there aren't two more episodes when I got to the finale, because every season up until now, listeners, has been 24. Pretty common for a sitcom to have full 24 or even more episodes a season. But I guess this was the kind of advent of streaming. Less people were watching it. Maybe I was thinking even trying to come up with reasons as to why they would shorten the season just by, like, 2 episodes. Uh, maybe at this point, I think they had renegotiated contracts and the actors were getting paid a lot more and they were trying to cut back or something on the budget. Like, so they had to
Yeah.
cut 2 episodes a season. Like, I don't know, because I know at some point, like, all the main actors were getting something like, 200, 300K an episode every season. So, they were each making, 8 figures doing this show. That's a lot of money in just actors, to show up.
Yeah, because they had all won awards at this point.
Right. You couldn't do the
Yeah,
show
for
without them,
the series.
basically.
Yeah,
So it's just
yeah.
like the Friends thing, where it's like, oh, do you want the show to keep going? Well, if all the actors kind of bargain together, you can't keep the show. If it's just one person, you could write them out. But if it's every actor kind of being like demanding this, then the show's over, or you got to pay them what they're demanding, kind
Yeah.
of
And it's like it's
situation.
with the, maybe you could have Alex go off to college and never see her again, but she's not getting paid the most out of all of them. I don't think she won a Golden Globe or an Emmy. It's Claire, Phil, Jay, Gloria, um, Eric Stone Street, and Cam and Mitch. So yeah, you can't. Those are the big actors. They won awards. They're going to command a lot of money, and you can't really do the show without those characters.
And they were starting to branch out. Like, I think the really the only one besides Ed O'Neill, who is literally, sitcom royalty. Everybody knew who he was. I think Julie Bowen was maybe the only like kind of known actor in the whole series besides Ed O'Neill, where, and even she was not very well known. She had just been in the business so long that had been in all these little bit parts. Yeah, Happy Gilmore. She was, in Seinfeld episodes. She'd done some other comedy sitcoms. She'd just been a known kind of, you could recognize her from other things. If you, all the other ones were nobodies. Nobody had ever heard of him. Like apparently the Ty Burrell, they didn't even want to cast him because he was so unknown and stuff like that. So all of them had their career made, off of this, and they were starting to do other projects. So I remember, yeah, Phil Dunphy, Ty Burrell was starting to do stuff, and they were starting to do things that I thought that, as an actor, they were trying to really just get away from that character, that like they were being typecast as Ty Burrell. It doesn't work usually. Most actors can tell you that it doesn't actually work that well when you try to get away from that.
Yeah.
But I know Eric Stone Street did like weird kind of horror movies. Like he was doing this one. It was kind of, I forget what it was called. It wasn't called The Apartment, like the classic Billy Wilder one, but it was something about like these four businessmen that had some like secret apartment where they had affairs and they shared the lease or whatever. And then some girl gets murdered in it or whatever. Eric Stone Street was one of the four businessmen, and it was a bad movie. It didn't do well. I can't remember what it's called. But I just remember being like, huh, Cam's in that, because it just, you see him come on camera and you just automatically go to Cam. So like it doesn't quite work. I think Phil Dunphy, Ty Burrell tried to do a couple weird things. I want to say it was that Jake Gyllenhaal movie, something. He plays like a weird child molester and he actually did it pretty well. But the problem is, as soon as you see his face on camera, you're just like, oh, that's Phil Dunphy, like, yeah, like, oh, it's Phil Dunphy, the goofy dad or whatever. But yeah, so you saw actors starting to do that. I think the only child that got a big payday was Haley, the actress, because even in this season, last season we talked about it, she becomes more of a role, becomes more important as like a main character, like the adults. And I mean, this season, one of the biggest, the really the only through line is Haley and Andy,
Yeah.
like throughout all of these, which is might be the first season we don't have any kind of through line in the whole season besides just the love story between them.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
mean, it starts out with Fill in the Ducks that lasts about halfway through, but eventually, yeah, not through the entire season. Like there's the whole, you know, Jay, yeah, I guess halfway through retires and then hands over the business to Claire. So there's that, but that's not really, yeah, throughout the season. We only really get, yeah, Andy and Haley. And you could tell they're just like, all right, let's just use up this story. Let's, you know, continue that until the end. And then we're probably never going to see Andy again.
Yeah, which I think speaks to the writing too, where it's like, great writing uses those little through lines, something that's small that came up in episode one or two, all the way back to the finale or something like that. Like they kind of do in season six with Haley and Andy, where they start the spark and then by the end of the season, it's like been carried through here. I guess they do the same thing in this one, but maybe it's just not as interesting or not as well done because we both kind of noticed it while watching through. Yeah, yeah, just it's just man, it's so hard to pinpoint. And listeners that don't understand this, like the reason I picked Modern Family to do this, because I thought one, because it's perfectly lines up with the timeline of wokeness and the kind of cultural shift, but also I just think it's so hard to talk about. If I were to talk about the differences in, let's say, publishing or something, that's harder to see, and you have to be more specific, about what books are coming out and the styles and stuff that are being prioritized. But with the sitcom, it's just easier where like, yeah, if we've even had listeners who have said this, who have been listening, they said that, yeah, like listening to us talk about it and then being able to watch the season. Because again, it's a sitcom. You can binge this thing in like a day or two, if you wanted to binge a full season of this. And then you could binge multiple seasons in a row if you wanted to. And you can see what we're talking about here just easier than it would be to, read a dozen books to prove our point or whatever, about what we're trying to say about tracking the cultural shift. But yeah, we have, all right, well, I guess we'll just get into episodes then and things that'll come up here, listeners, that we've already been talking about. I have notes on, again, almost every episode, but not so much positively as they have been in the previous seasons. Like I said,
Yeah.
I couldn't tell if it was just because I was in a mood or because it just wasn't as funny as previous seasons or something. And I tend to, I can get in bad moods and be like, I don't want to laugh at this. But then there were also some bits that made me really laugh that I thought were good, that I tried to write down as well. So minor things on each episode, but it starts with Summer loving, and again we were left with that cliffhanger that you were like we talked about on last episode, where we basically get the explanation of what took place after the Andy and Haley cliffhanger, being in love.
Yeah. So yeah, it starts out with Phil phoning Cam, telling him, you have to stop um, Andy from proposing to Beth because he really loves Haley. And so Haley learns about that and they try to go and stop him, but it's too late. He already proposed. So, and that's kind of, I guess that was in May. So, like at the very end, still like right at the end of previous season. And then they kind of give us what happens. They flash forward to July a little bit, and you see that Andy's getting fat
which is
because
funny. Yeah.
yeah, Andy finds out that Haley is in love with him, and so, but he can't. He's already proposed to Beth, so he can't really do anything about it. So he's been eating his feelings, kind of. Um, I
Yeah.
don't
The
know. One of
fat.
the
No,
oh,
go on.
God.
The fat Andy bit.
Mhm.
I feel like that was becoming a thing. The reason I thought about it is because I couldn't remember exactly. Listeners could chime in. I didn't look it up. The season of Always Sunny where Mac gets fat as a bit. Wasn't it around this time? Wasn't it around
Yeah,
2014, 2015, something like that?
yeah, yeah,
It was just like a thing that was like in comedy sitcoms or something. And it usually is funny, but it's like, how funny is it, right? Like, how funny can you make it work? They make it work in Always Sunny really well because it works for the character, not understanding that he's like huge and fat.
yeah.
That was a funny bit for that. But like the Andy thing, it's funny, but yeah, they kind of do away with it pretty quick too. But yeah, I laughed when I saw him in the fat suit, Andy Devine coming in the fat suit, like eating. And of course, they always find a way to bring back Dylan, which is usually funny.
Mhm.
The t-shirts.
Yeah, his t-shirt business where it's a V-neck and he makes words with V's in them where he replaces the V with the V-neck and it just looks so awkward. Like you could tell what he's doing, but it's like so dumb. One of the funny things is when Phil takes them all to see a movie, and this is like right before they see Dylan in the mall. And Haley's just depressed because of Andy, and she's saying, "Yeah, it's just so depressing. These couples holding hands, and ever since being gay is legal now or whatever, it seems like it's everyone."
Yeah.
I thought that was a good line. But a lot of the, there is a plot line in there where, yeah, Mitch is out of a job, right? This is that one. He's out of a job, and so he takes up painting
Yeah.
as a therapy. And again, we start getting a lot more therapy stuff. Therapy and especially yoga, men doing yoga, which I mean, it's sort of like some men did yoga, of course, before this, but it's sort of like now it's just no one questions. It's like, oh yeah, men doing yoga. That's not like, gay at all or anything
Yeah.
like that. It's
Very
just like,
LA. Yeah.
yeah, perfectly normal. It's part of being, mindfulness, right? It's part of therapy. Um,
Spirituality, even yoga is like considered like a spiritual type of thing as well. Uh,
yeah.
there was a great Phil line in that first episode too, and I think it's very early on when he's on the phone because he's like still calling from that hotel room
Mhm.
during the flashback. She's like, "How do you know that Andy's in love with Haley?" And he's like, "Claire, I think I know the look of love in another man's eyes." Like,
Yeah.
great Phil line.
Oh yeah. And so Jay and Gloria are trying to enroll Joe in preschool, and they want to send him to the preschool that like Bruce Willis sent his kids to or whatever. He's got like he donated money to it, but they're not accepting any new people, so they have to go to something called like is it the Learning Barn?
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
hippie like one.
Yeah, where it's just a hippie, do whatever you want, type thing, which again was becoming like, you know, prestigious back then. Like rich people wanted like, rather than getting like strict education and learning things, it's like this free spirit, like let them explore themselves and their own imagination and do whatever they want,
Gentle
type of
parenting.
attitude. Yes. So yeah, gentle
Yeah.
parenting. That's it.
Dude,
Um,
I remember my dad was a big Bill Engvall fan. And
mhm.
when Bill Engvall was in this heyday in the 90s and stuff, even before his show and the blue collar comedy stuff. I remember on like his first album or second album, because my dad had all of them and we would listen to them in the car. He had a bit about California parents, and this was like in the 90s because he's from Texas, moved to California to be a comedian and all that. Obviously, this is, and he just said something about he's like, my wife and I, we have friends. He's like, and they're nice people, but they're California parents. And it's like a whole bit about like the California parents. He's like, just let the children express themselves. He's like, alrighty, like uh it just, yeah, things like that. That was already a thing from California, kind of SoCal lifestyle, but also like it was becoming more. I mean, that's something with the internet too. Like I kept trying as I was watching through this and to give in the thesis and how we're trying to kind of map the cultural shift. I was also trying to be fair and just kind of be like, okay, how much of this is just internet culture coming into it, which there's a fair bit about, because social media was becoming everything. There's entire episodes dedicated to it.
Mhm.
But also like, yeah, how much was the just the, inevitable from culture moving online, how much was that, and then how much was the deliberate kind of very political woke, which would become the known as woke within like a year now, from where we are in the timeline.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was trying to make like a fair distinction between them, but they're so wrapped up in one another. Like it's so like the woke could not have happened without the internet like taking over culture. It's just a weird kind of steps that kind of started to happen here, and I don't know. Because I was thinking even in that next episode, the day Alex left for college, which was kind of a lackluster episode, but like the funniest part was hipster Luke.
Oh yeah.
Luke dressed as
Yeah.
a hipster and then all his friends wearing the same thing.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it
Um,
was very yeah, Phil asked, are you in a boy band?
yeah,
Because they're dressed like, like Abercrombie Finch type I don't know, what were those? Like, I don't know,
it's
almost
it's
yeah.
more like Urban Outfitters at that
Okay,
time.
yes.
Yeah,
Yes, that's
Abercrombie was a little before.
mhm.
The malls were dying, and it was like Urban Outfitters was like the hipster. At least that's what I remember at that time. Like people getting like fresh jackets at like Urban Outfitters, and they were like denim with like hoodies sewed into the lining or whatever,
Yeah.
like that type of thing.
And yeah, they're all wearing like glasses and a beanie and
And the beanie like off their head a little bit, right? Like cocked
yes.
back so that it like hangs and doesn't, because it's fucking Southern California. You don't need a beanie like ever.
Yeah.
Like,
It's all very just
yeah.
fashion conscious, like, and men aren't really like that, but around that time, those places like Urban Outfitters, like the hipster was always fashion conscious.
And hipsters always existed, but like again, because of the internet, it became what, people on the internet would call a normie phenomenon.
And
It's like, yeah, when people remember like the emo era and stuff.
yeah, and this was kind of the peak stomp clap uh
Yeah,
hipsterdom. Yeah.
exactly. The kind of like coffee open mic, coffee house open mic, like, which I've been to a few of those at that time. Yeah.
Mhm.
Uh, yeah, that's exactly how everybody would look. Yeah. And it just became like a look. Yeah, that was funny. And it's funny that they have Luke do it, although it kind of goes away, immediately as well. And Luke's just kind of back to wearing hoodies and like, teenage boy stuff. But,
Yeah, it was just the one episode where he's like that. And this is the episode where him and Phil find the duck eggs, which just, man,
go into the duck eggs because Eric and I have been texting about this. Eric was texting me about it before we even started about how it's the kind of the one plot line where he said was basically the jump the shark plot line, which made him see it. So yeah, yeah, the duck eggs are important.
yeah, I mean, you just don't think that they're gonna go through with that, but then you just see the next episode, he's like building stuff for them. He's trying to get them to hatch. He's taking all of this stuff, and it's like this is crazy for Phil to do. This is not, and they try to connect it to, oh, he's losing he lost Alex and Haley, to college, even though Haley's back home. And he's about to lose Luke. So the duck eggs are like, he needs a new baby, right? He needs something
Right.
to take care of. And I know it's part of that whole, men need to be sensitive, express their feelings more, like all of this stuff that you don't really need in this type of sitcom, and we didn't really get. in the earlier seasons, and they just kind of put that on Phil's character. And again, they elevate Claire to this, you know, boss that's able to balance, kids and work, and nothing really affects her too much. Maybe for a minute, but she drinks a glass of wine, gets over it, gets over it, and gets on with her day. But just have Phil be this like tortured person who needs to taking care of these random ducks is just very out of character.
Yeah. And it that carries, I think that carries for like 9, 10 episodes after this, where he's got the ducks and blah 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 comes up.
Uh,
And that was no, please.
yeah, I mean, yeah, no, no, carries through, yeah, till about halfway through the season. So yeah, another 9 or 10 episodes.
And it's like when they actually do hatch, that's one thing we'll get to with that episode where I wrote it down where just Phil doesn't even get to like enjoy the ducks after that. Like it's just like they take that from Phil too. And
Yeah,
it was basically this season I noticed it was Phil and Cam that almost seemed like I kept being like, what are the writers doing with these guys? These are two of the best characters in the show. And they kind of put them on the back seat in this season, and it really hurts the show. Uh, Cam, even we mentioned last season, where Cam was basically just all about his rivals. He just kept having a different rival every episode, and that was his storyline every episode. Which is somewhat funny, yeah, of course. But then, like this season, he barely even has that. Like, it's just kind of very minor things for Cam. I was just like, damn, like Eric Stone Street and Ty Burrell, the two ones that are cleaning up the Emmys for their roles in this, are getting shortchanged here,
they do
or at
give
least just not
them,
being used as well as they were before. So, and I noticed, you know.
yeah, they do give them their, they do rent out the upstairs to new lodgers. That they have a business called the Artful Lodgers, is what they call themselves.
The
And they
Airbnb
just,
craze, yeah.
yeah, the Airbnb craze. So yeah, that sneaks in. So I mean, and there are a couple episodes they do make that funny, sometimes. Uh, Also, there is one point in the second episode where Manny does mention like something about a cronut, which
Right.
it sort of threw me back to like, oh yeah, I remember when that's what everyone was talking about. Every late night show joke was something about a cronut. You'd see news segments on like, who's making cronuts in town, uh, whatever that bakery is in New York with the lion wrapped, that
Yeah.
started it, the lion outside the building. Um, yeah, that, uh,
The viral food, the
yeah,
rainbow bagels, the cronuts, the sloppy little things that you can't eat, but they're like for Instagram pics.
yeah,
Dude, that I mean, talk about eating a cronut for the first time. One of the most disappointing experiences of my life, considering how
yeah,
hyped up it is. Still hyped up. Like, I don't understand why people think it's so great. Uh, it's basically, yeah, croissant dough, but like fried like a donut instead of baked. Like, so what do you think that tastes like? Well, it tastes like a slightly sweeter croissant. That is what it
yeah.
tastes like.
A little softer texture. That's
Yeah,
about it. Like, yeah,
yeah.
there's no big deal.
It's really, and you like need to put things on them to even enjoy them, like jam or something, because they're just so plain and like just like a croissant. You need to put like butter or something on it. Like it's just, yeah. Uh, that's starting, and there's a couple other. I didn't notice the cronut, but you're right, and there were a couple others that I noticed. Like the promposal episode and things like just purely internet phenomenons that are becoming fodder for a sitcom, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Episode 3, the closet case.
Yeah, this is might be one of my favorites of the season, I think. So this was, I think it's a great Jay episode.
Yeah, and the Claire and Phil letting Dylan move in is a good one too.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, Mitchell goes to work for Jay's rival, who we saw in the previous episode, Earl, played by John Polito, who's a great actor. He's in a lot of Coen Brothers stuff. He always plays like a mob guy or kind of
Yeah.
always kind of an unsavory character.
His look and
Um,
his voice kind of make him perfect for, yeah,
yeah,
any type of villain role like that.
yeah. And so yeah, he goes to work for closets. And again, some great jokes about that name and just closet names. Mitch is talking to Jay, and Mitchell says to him, "Of course, it's closets," or like he said something about, "Of course, it's closets." And Jay says, "Wait, are you talking about closets, or of course it's closets?" Because
Uh,
you know, Bill Chambers is a straight shooter, like,
yeah.
yeah. Uh, but uh, yeah, eventually Earl kind of screws Mitch over a little bit. So they go to get revenge and break into Earl's office when he's not there. And there's a great scene where Jay's like, "All right, Mitch, get out the phone and take a picture of me rubbing my deal all over his cigars." And
Yeah.
like, they keep calling their junk is their deal. And Earl catches them and say, "Jay, don't you dare whip out your deal." Mitch is like, "Why does everyone keep calling it a deal? Is this something new that I've never heard of before?"
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
Lots of kid plot lines, and this is the season where again, like we had a little bit of this with Haley last season, kind of becoming a main character. They're trying to do it with Alex. I feel like in this season, it doesn't work as much because she's supposed to be like going back and forth to college, all of that. But yeah, there lots of kid plot lines, and this is this episode where they bring back. They kind of went away from it in season 6, but they kind of bring back the Manny and Luke kind of buddies trying to get laid
That's
thing.
all they do with them. It is
Yeah.
like it's just there's no real school plot line or anything.
Yeah.
It's just like they're always trying to get laid. And I guess for lack of anything else, they stuck with that. No real story for them. But this one does have the plot of Manny is assigned a cheerleader because he's on the football team, and the cheerleader has to decorate the locker. And Manny's cheerleader won't decorate his locker because she thinks it's a sexist tradition,
Yeah,
And this is again very of the time,
of
like,
course.
even high school girls are like calling things sexist. And, Gloria's like, "Well, you should have thought of that before you signed up to be a cheerleader," which,
Yeah.
true. um, and this is also is this when Manny and Manny and Luke go to college
Yeah,
to
they go to
visit.
Alex's
Yeah.
dorm because of her roommate or something was like hot.
Yeah. And so they end up talking to Alex's roommate, or not her roommate, I guess the girl who lives next to her
Yeah, on
that
her
was coming
floor.
over to, yeah, borrow a dress. Someone who lives next to her who has a roommate. So they're talking to those two girls. And eventually the girls just admit, "We haven't kissed anyone since we've been here. So why don't you make out with us?" And then the girl says, "According to campus policy, blah, 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 you have our consent."
Yeah.
And this is again like, but this Me Too, Eric? Was this the start of that?
It was just ramping up. The Me Too
Okay.
exploded. Again, everything exploded post that November election in 2016. That's when the end of the world, basically, we started a new world order. And everything you thought you knew, you didn't anymore. But it was ramping up to it. It was ramping up to the Me Too thing,
Okay.
which again started in Hollywood, right? And we said we had some grumblings of it in even season 5, some early grumblings where you said, the writers' room tussle was a kind of over that. A lot of the women writers feeling like they were being shortchanged or replaced or something, not getting the same credit or whatever it is. And just exploding ever since then. But yeah, of course you have to include that. But the problem is, and this is the problem with the wokeness in general, but I mean, it's because you're putting that before the humor. So it always makes the jokes lesser because you're trying to do something other than make a good joke. You're trying to do this kind of, thread the needle in this political kind of context, but also make a joke at the same time. And you can do that. There are some comedians that are great at that, have made entire careers out of it, right? But
Yeah.
like, this isn't that type of sitcom, and like maybe it probably wasn't fitting into the writer's room all that great, considering the kind of classic sitcom gags. But
Yeah. And the I mean they are like I'm torn because they are kind of making fun of it
right.
because the whole thing did kind of start on campus in
Hmm.
California, right? California had that law where um I think it's just at the UCs, you even if a girl has like a sip of alcohol and the guy has sex with her, even like no matter what, she can just come back and say that that was rape.
Yes, it was
And
post expansion of the Title IX legislation policy that mostly governing college campuses. And this was the big thing that a lot of people that have followed wokeness and the birth of wokeness and have written, there's a lot of great writing on this, how it started and where it came from. A lot of people trace it back to the kind of expansion of Title IX to the most vague forms that, this is under the last kind of Obama term. Who was his DA? I think this is his during his last couple years there. It was was it Valerie Jarrett, that woman, the one that got Roseanne Barr canceled?
yeah, I think
It was
so.
that his like DA at the end of it. She was somehow involved, but she apparently was part of this, I think, expanding the Title IX. And of course, it's not just her when you're talking about huge legislation, it's a huge team of people. But I think she was one of the faces of it. Um, and anyway, yeah, and that was a huge controversy coming up too, because that's the one thing Betsy DeVos did when she came in under Trump was she made it go back to the original Title IX, and everybody was freaking out and telling her that she hated women and blah 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 because she was changing the law back to what it was pre the expansion here, where we get all this kind of college campus lawsuits about one night stands that are regretted versus what's actual rape, right? Like, like
Yeah.
with your guard down after a few drinks and maybe you regret having sex with that person, but like did they rape, right? Like they didn't like, like there was a
Mhm.
whole and they blurred that line and it made it impossible to so that was starting. So it's funny and like you said, you made a good point because it is this it's still a joke. It's still a joke right here until it isn't, right? Like even in the last season we said this, everything's still written with the humor first.
Mhm.
Just doesn't hold up as well because it's so kind of tied up in this stuff. But yeah, it was still about the humor first until it's not anymore.
Mhm.
But that third episode's where I just noticed, yeah, lot of kid plot lines because we follow mostly besides the Jay and Mitch story. And I guess the Claire and Phil with Dylan is really the only thing they have. We
Yeah.
follow Alex, we follow Luke and Manny, we follow Haley. Um, so again, the kids are just becoming bigger characters, and the problem with that is just that like, those actors aren't as talented as like Eric Stone Street and Ty Burrell and Ed O'Neill and these kind of, very good comedy actors that have won Emmys for it. Whatever, they're young at the time. These are young people at the time. It's not like you're going to be some great actor at that age, but still, um, just more of that. And yeah, we get into that, but uh, episode four. She Crazy. Just that
Yeah.
episode title, I was like, mm, this
Yeah.
is some internet speak right here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, although the best, funniest bit for me was, Cam's code switching around straight guys,
Hmm.
was great.
Yeah, they take in some frat guys that uh move into the Airbnb upstairs, and he just Cam reverts back to like his old football days, just pretending he's a straight frat guy chugging beer,
Yeah.
partying. Uh, and there's a great montage where uh, Mitch is kind of talking about, like in an interview, uh, in one of the confessionals, um, about how he just wishes he was more like Cam because Cam can like get along with everyone and just knows how to fit in. There's a montage of like, like some they rent it out to old people and these like old ladies are visiting and he's just like having tea with them, chatting it up.
Doing like a
And
big
then
southern
there's
drawl. Yeah. Like
yeah, and
that he
then
doesn't have. Yeah.
yeah. and then there's a black family, and that he's on the couch, and they're watching a horror movie, and they're all yelling at the television.
Yeah. Don't go in there. Oh, you crazy
Yeah,
bitch.
which I'm surprised. Again, later seasons they wouldn't be making that joke, but they still
Right.
can here because you can acknowledge that black people yell at the TV, they yell at the movies.
I
That
think even you met the Amy Schumer special that made her like a huge name in comedy, that Comedy Central like hour-long special she did. I forget the name of it. It's the one where she wears that pink dress and nobody really heard of her before, but it was like her first huge special. She had a bit in that special about like black people yelling at the movie screen or whatever. So like
yeah,
and this was like 2014. Like like where you could still make those jokes and still be in the good graces of whatever the leftist activists or something at that time. Just
yeah,
interesting. This was like the last kind of bastion of being able to make those kind of jokes that are, I mean, very harmless, right? Everybody laughs at them and they're funny and they usually work and like, yeah,
it's because it's the truth in that culturally, like black church, it's a very call and response
Right.
culture. It's like jazz, right? Call and response. So yeah, they're part of the experience. Like if they're watching a movie, it's just how it is. And you could like be honest and just say that without getting in trouble. But now you can't point out any stereotype, whether it's true or not,
And
because
even in like
that's
a, yeah, whether it's in a good-natured humor, like making a
Mhm.
joke way too, it's like everything's interpreted as like a dead serious, like you're proposing policy, like government policy or something. That's how
Yeah.
jokes are interpreted now. Although that's fading off now, listeners. But again, we just that cultural thing that was happening as this show is on air that was coming in. Same thing with Claire pitching closet ideas. We have that brown nose assistant
Uh,
guy is back, who becomes more and more prominent as these later seasons.
yeah. Yeah, no, her closet ideas are great just because it just shows you how ridiculous like this inside world of closets are. He's like, Jay's always like, oh, yeah, that didn't work when it was pitched in 2005 by, and he like names the guy
Yeah.
again. And I think there's one design, I don't know, it's like, oh, are you telling me are you pitching me the Nashville something? And it's just like
Yeah.
it's some closet design, and it's like they laugh at her because it's been around forever.
And the brown
Then
nose guy like turns on her, like, yeah, like he just does agrees. That's always the grass. He just like agrees with whoever's in charge, like kind of changes his opinion based on what the boss says. Like it's always funny.
yeah.
Uh, dude, and this was the episode where I had a lot of notes where I was just kind of like I said, I was like, am I in a mood? Like I feel like I haven't laughed like I normally have. And I was just wrote the more duck shit that takes up the runtime, the more I
Mhm.
hate it.
Yeah.
And I was just, and there's a lot of duck shit that takes up runtime in episode 4. And I was texting Eric about this. I'm just like, dude, this is such a waste of Phil's character and just Ty Burrell as an actor in that role.
Mhm.
He could do so much more with what they give him, like what to do. They just give him to like fiddle around with these ducks. Whereas
Yeah.
like God, he could do the physical comedy, like he could do all of this stuff. Like I remember thinking of like even the season before where he has to like break into that house that he's doing an open house in and stuff. Like it just you could have made a whole episode of Phil doing something like that because Ty Burrell can just do the physical comedy so well. The goofiness, the embarrassment, like he's just so good at capturing those like weird things. Um,
Uh, yeah. And
this is
this
the no, please.
this is the jury duty episode, I believe,
Oh,
where
yeah,
Gloria
that's great. That's great.
has to
Yeah.
go jury duty, and she's really excited because she just wants to. She's like thinking everyone is the murderer and they're guilty. And uh, Jay, he's called in to do something. Oh yeah, he's called in to. They want him to read at Joe's school. They want him to come in and like play with the kids.
The parent
And
volunteer. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
and he's like, now is this something I could get out of by being, this is like jury duty where I can get out of it by being racist?
Yeah.
I thought that was great.
And he brings that
Uh,
like his assistant with him and he's like telling her what to do
mhm.
so he doesn't have to. That's a great bit because it's like the
And
hippie school teacher woman is like, yeah, it's good combo with Jay and the hippie school teacher woman. Like it's a very rich, like those two clashing is like, okay, you're gonna make great bits out of this. Like,
Yeah, he reads to them, and some kid blurts out, "You're old," and he's like, "What's it to you, big ears?"
yeah,
And he's got to like go time out and like talk to big ears. He just keeps making jokes about the kid's ears. Uh,
they even
another, go ahead.
no, they even have a bit about it in like the end credits where like he gets stuck in the slide and it's that big-eared kid and him
Yeah.
and Jay's like, I could see it, I can hear your ears. Like he's like shouting at him because he's like stuck in the slide and the kid's not helping him.
And another good bit was in the closet company. Claire has to, she's in charge of this retirement for Herm,
Yeah.
and it's a big mix up of like which Herm is retiring, at the end. But she orders this, she makes an executive decision. She's like, we're having an ice cream cake, it's going to be mint chip. And just everyone's reaction to like mint chip ice
Yeah.
cream cake is like, oh, it's mint chip, never mind. And like they're just really like, are you sure you want to go with mint chip? Like no one likes it. Yeah, I thought that was good. Again, another ice cream cake bit that kind of harkened back
Again,
to the
yeah.
David Frost one.
Yeah. That the ice cream and it starts melting. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
always great. He's like, what kind of cake? Ice cream cake. And he's like, what flavor? Mint chips. I'll come back. The gay guy doing the ordering. This is also the episode. There's a therapy session bit with Luke and Mitchell where like Mitchell's helping Luke learn to drive. And there's some funny bits to that, but it's just like, yeah, here we go. The therapy session stuff is coming back. Also, the birds at the business lunch with Claire is great, where she's like at the, it's like very classic sitcom. Like she has all this bird seed in her
Mhm.
because of Phil's ducks, and then like all the birds start coming to her at like the outdoor cafe. But what really irritated me about this episode is Manny's confidence is just gone.
Mhm.
This like a huge part of his character was his kind of blind confidence, wearing the that little, whatever parka or whatever that like, and then playing the, Colombian pan flute music or something. Like that was like his thing. He was like this overly confident guy that was going up to 16-year-old girls when he was 8 and like reading them poems that he wrote and like wearing a puffy shirt. Like that was like his character. And now all of a sudden he's just a normal teen, which like, I don't know. His whole character was this kind of, sensitive, overly confident, in touch with his feelings, like art lover guy. And I don't know, they just made him like he couldn't his whole thing in this episode is he keeps going to Gloria because he's too afraid to talk to some woman that like
Mhm.
works at the cafe he goes to or something like a barista he thinks is cute to like ask her out. I was just like, since when does Manny like too nervous to ask a girl out? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, like he was asking girls like twice his age out when like they were like, "Oh, you're so cute," like, making dinner for the nanny in that one season,
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
because he's in love with her and stuff. And I don't know. It just, again, not the end of the world. It just felt like what I just one of those things where it's just like, what the fuck are the writers doing here? Like, you have this great thing with Manny, and I was like, man, if they kept that through his going to adulthood, you could have done some really great things with Manny, particularly his like kind of juxtaposition with everybody else in the family. But that, and then what really pissed me off was at the end here, where the fact that Phil doesn't even get to bond with the Ducks.
Yeah.
I
It
was
turns
just
on
like,
Claire.
this is brutal. Phil is just getting beat up in this season so far. He's not getting a single win. Even the Ducks that he obsessed over, he like doesn't get that. Uh, yeah, I was just like, damn, this episode pissed me off. And in the very next episode, in the verdict, episode 5, Phil gets like scammed or something right away.
Oh, yeah, yes, by some guy that pretends to know him, and he gets him to loan him $50 or something to uh, get home, something like that. But Yeah. Yeah. This episode, yeah, number six. It's the episode where, in this last, they kind of bring it back up later in the season, but Cam selling his family's tomato sauce,
Oh yeah, with his
and then
rival
Gloria's,
Andrew.
yeah, yeah, and then Gloria's recipe ends up being better. This is also the episode where Dylan and Haley break up because she's in love with Andy.
Yeah.
Oh, and Luke gets arrested.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, for I guess he was driving without a license? Is that what it
Probably.
was?
I
Yeah.
can't even remember because it was like you think it was a huge deal, but then I was like, I don't even remember what happened. Like, yeah, like
He took the car to visit a girl that he liked because her cat died. And I think he got pulled over on the way there, and either he didn't have a license or yeah, that must have been it. Yeah.
yeah, there's that. And I mean, in these couple episodes here, just a handful here before we get to episode seven, so four, five, and six. That's where I was just thinking, like, man, they're misusing these characters here. Like Cam being misused, Phil being, they have Phil acting like really insecure.
Hmm.
Just some wild character shifts where like Phil used to just, would be like doing his weird like workout stuff, like rollerblading or whatever, like,
Hmm.
and with like all this confidence, and all of a sudden he's insecure.
Yeah, he's dressing up. They had him dress up as a woman, like in Claire's bathrobe or perfume, her earrings, just so he can get the ducks to think that he's Claire, so they'll imprint on him. Yeah, that's a little ridiculous. Yeah, they're just, yeah, Phil is being beat down.
It just irritated me because I thought it was like something about the writers, right? Where I was just like, okay, the writers, every character can't be like an insecure gay guy, like every character can't have the same insecurities, the same awkward interactions when they're trying to date, all of this stuff. It has to be like different for each character here. And I don't know, I just felt like they were getting a little lazy with it, particularly with characters that have all this great, work behind them with Cam and Phil in particular. I was just like, man, you guys could really do more with this. I don't know, it just felt like they were ignoring those guys for lesser storylines and lesser comedy actors. I don't know. It was just like, man, I don't know what's happening. But episode seven, we have Phil's sexy, sexy house. Um,
Yeah.
and that's a great one, but it's also like that's where I wrote this note to myself. I was like, oh, this is the real Andy and Haley season. And I
Mhm.
just wrote, Jesus, I'm over it already. Uh, but Haley is again looking smoking hot in this season. Uh, it seemed like this season in particular, like whenever they needed something to like move along in like a serious relationship, they would just bring up Andy and Haley's kind of like, you know, almost overly sappy in some ways. Like it's either super goofy or super serious every time you see Haley and Andy on camera. Um, but I guess that's the good one where they have like everybody trying to go into that house and like be sexy in this like sexy house or whatever.
Yeah, everyone wants to have their alone time and they all think no one else is there, but whenever they see someone else come in, they have to hide. So they're all hiding there. It's a good kind of like old, screwball comedy uh technique that they use, which I kind of like. It's quick, makes for a lot of good jokes. I love Phil and his virtual reality game that he's playing. Um, and
There was also that great bit where Gloria's like groping Phil for his wallet because he had those tight jeans on or whatever. She like couldn't steal his wallet. That
yeah.
was great. And Phil's like loving it. She's like bending him over and like trying to find the wallet, like groping his ass, and he's just like, he's like loving it. Uh, and Manny, this is where we also start to get introduced to like Manny has like a series of like Quirk Chungus white girlfriends.
Mhm.
Um, that start to be introduced, and those are kind of interchangeable too. Um, But yeah, that sexy house is a kind of a classic sitcom gag, yeah, where they could keep kind of going back and showing you how it played out
Mhm.
with everybody trying to like get sexy in this house. But it's interesting for episode 8 too, man, where I was if we go through there, I was just thinking right as we were doing episode 8, I was like, man, huh, not as many guest stars as the previous seasons, and then Catherine O'Hara is in
Yeah.
the again R.I.P. uh comedy legend. Um, but that entire episode is like a therapy session gag. Like the
Yeah.
entire episode is a therapy session. Uh,
Yeah,
and
it's Clean Out Your Junk Drawer, and Catherine
yeah,
O'Hara wrote a book called Clean Out Your Junk Drawer, and Gloria thought she was at some auction, and she thought she was bidding on like a home organizer to come
yeah,
in, and turns out it's a psychologist, and you're doing group therapy, and I actually there were a lot of good gags in that one, especially Phil and Claire, their bit about playing with their joystick. That was good. Um, but Cam and Mitch eventually getting into an argument was good. But again, at the end of this episode, you get you know, that sweet sentimental thing with Jay where he opens up about his father, and there's no laugh. There's no punchline.
yeah.
Usually they would have a punchline with that. They would say something sweet and sentimental, and then boom, you'd have a laugh right after. And there wasn't that with this.
And like the main through line for this entire episode is that Gloria is angry at Jay for not sharing his feelings more. And it's like hurting their marriage or something. And I'm just like, all right. Like, it was just, yeah, it was just like therapy culture is becoming full blown here. We had a few kind of small instances of it in the last 2 seasons, and now it's just entire episodes where they have like group therapy together. Yeah, I don't know. I was just like, man, this is again. I think I'm more frustrated by the writing of something like that than anything else. Whereas I don't know. I just feel like there's other things you could do with all these characters together. But I guess it is, 7 seasons in. This is the season where we start to have repeating storylines too. So small thing like Luke being arrested, right? Like Haley being arrested a few seasons before. We'll get to it. The finding the ducks, and then we have like Claire finding a dog later on in the season. Um, and there's a few others I mentioned I wrote down as I was towards the end of this season. I was like, huh, they're kind of repeating some of these storylines here. But, you start to run out of ideas, I guess, after, 7 seasons of 24 episodes, the 22 in this one. Uh, but yeah, I don't know. Just I was like, man, especially for a group therapy session, you thought it could have gotten like a lot funnier than like the pogo stick or whatever. That was like
Mhm.
the funniest part. Like, yeah, like the
Oh
metaphor.
yeah, pogo stick, not joystick. Yeah,
Uh,
pogo stick. That's
and it's totally like, and it's because it's so directed at Phil, you like it's one of those things where it could be a metaphor, but it's also like he has a pogo stick that he likes to play with,
yeah.
like
And that's what they were literally talking about.
yeah.
And then yeah, Cam and Mitch are like, it's really sad that this isn't a metaphor and it's really a pogo stick.
And then we get the Christmas episode,
Yeah.
White Christmas, episode 9.
Yeah, they think they're going to a place where it's going to snow, but Gloria was looking at the weather in Celsius, not
Yeah.
Fahrenheit. And it turns out it's going to no snow, it's going to be sunny.
And there's a lot of like the Shining references with Lily. Uh,
Yeah. That was good. I do enjoy those. They did a couple parodies with Luke and Manny as the twins, and Lily's like riding her tricycle down the hall.
yeah. In like a strange, like big house. Uh,
And that's also they have an unexpected visitor, just a lady who turns out to be some sort of world-renowned physicist or something like that.
yeah.
and she's just grumpy, hates Christmas, and she's there because people who originally rented the house that Gloria rented it from them didn't tell her that they were spending the Christmas somewhere else, so she showed up anyway. And she it was great. She's like, why would they leave me out of this? I'm the one that tells them about all the risks of cancer, and I invite them to all my dogs, all my pets' funerals. And yeah, she's just really annoying, kind of the typical atheist, negative, we're all gonna die, nothing is safe type person that you do see in academia, especially in science departments, math departments.
Yeah, and Alex says it's her ghost of Christmas future.
Yeah.
Seeing this woman because she like works at MIT or something as a professor. Um, we also in this episode we get the joke about transitioning with Jay explaining he's retiring, and there's like a bit.
Yeah, I'm not retiring, I'm transitioning. So whenever anyone asks you, where's Jay Pritchard lately, you tell them he's transitioning.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, oh, I heard it. Yeah.
yeah. And he's I heard it. Yeah. But it's just funny to me where all of a sudden that's a bit now. Like, what the fuck is transitioning? Well, again, it's implied that everybody knows what that means now, right?
Yeah, no, yeah, and they do. It's like, no, it means more than one thing, and everyone has to be aware because, yeah.
Yeah. The trans thing. Again, a great, still good joke, still humor forward, and it's great that Jay does it.
Uh,
And again, Ed O'Neill plays it great. Yeah.
and this is when, so Cam and Mitch, they want to sing a Christmas carol, I think Silent Night, and they tried it last Christmas, so they have a flashback, but Mitch got too drunk, and I thought that was a great scene where he just started like kind of just being over the top, throwing his clothes at them, like
It-
acting it like it's
dude,
like some sort of body performance.
dude,
But
Phil's face when he gets hit with the sweatshirt during that flashback is again why Ty Burrell deserved so many more Emmys. Because like he like yeah, Mitch like throws his hoodie or sweater or whatever like at and then like hits like Phil in the face and he like looks at it. Like just it's such a great reaction shot for like 2 seconds from Ty Burrell that I'm like, man, yeah, Ty Burrell was so good at this, like the reaction shots.
yeah, and Pam starts going over all the names that the family would call them, and it's always like a, like parodies on Captain and Tennille or something like that. And at the very end of this list that he starts listing out, he says, like, and again, this was a time where, and I don't know if it's still going on today, where everyone is just like, Nickelback is like the worst band you could
Right.
ever like ever think of. They're completely awful, even though they sell out stadiums, have have tons of hit records.
And
They're
everybody
like
knows the
worse.
words to that one song, like
Yeah,
couldn't cut it as a wise man.
yeah. No,
This is how you remind me.
me. Yeah.
This is how you remind me. Dude, everybody knows that song, but yeah, this was like the joke, right? Yeah. Again, very
Yeah.
internet, right? Very internet that all of a sudden this band that, again, I'm not a huge Nickelback fan just because I've never really been into that kind of alternative rock stuff that they were doing. But like, yeah, just very internet, right? That oh, Nickelback sucks is like the first kind of real memes that everybody would just share around, and it finds its way into a small little line. Yeah, it's a little one line thing.
It was something that, yeah, definitely started on the internet, and then everyone just started like saying as it like, oh, of course it's true. That's they cut, people get memed into believing certain things, and that's kind of
Yeah,
that. That was one of them.
I mean it's incredible too. Where it's like, I mean, I maintain, and listeners, regular listeners know this, and Eric knows this, that literally the entire cultural shift we lived through was memed into existence. Like it's not real.
Mhm.
It was just this kind of internet memes that have kind of worked their way into real life. They've kind of become real after
Mhm.
a certain point, you know? It's just kind of incredible. Yeah. That's more interesting to me than anything else, but of course it's hard to study and hard to actually, pinpoint. But yeah, Christmas good, but yeah. It did seem that, like you said, there were moments where they tried to go real sentimental, and then other times where they didn't even bother. Like
Mhm.
even like when you have these basic things, like I was thinking even like the Christmas, like there would usually always be a little sentimental thing at Christmas, but like during the Christmas episodes, but like they just didn't do it this time.
All right.
And I just felt like, even in some of the ones like we talked about the previous season, where it's like the anti-Christmas or anti-Thanksgiving one, there's still like at the end of the episode the kind of coming together, kind of family sentimental moment, and it just feels like I don't know, just inconsistent with some of that. Uh, Even like the voiceover at the end, I feel like they kind of went away with that, and then but it was coming back for a couple episodes this season. I think Mitch had one, Jay has a couple usually where he talks about, the lesson you learn or whatever about your family and you love them, blah, blah, blah. Just a little small thing, but yeah, just the thing that the writers are going away from.
This was also the episode where Jay, Claire finally accepts the position to take over uh, Pritchard Closets after Jay retires. So that's kind of that's a big point in the story because the rest of the story kind of revolves around her trying to um, like take over that position and be successful at it.
Right. And that starts it. And this type of plot, this plot line between the tension between Claire and Jay running the company is, I'm pretty sure, is, if I remember correctly, is carried through the rest of the seasons here. Like it just they carry, and I mean, of course, it's a great point of tension for those characters and stuff, so you could work with that. So it
Mhm.
makes sense that they carry it through the rest of the seasons. But yeah, this is the start of that, and it's like yeah, carried through the next. What do we have? Like 4 seasons left, 3 seasons left, 8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, 4 seasons left.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Uh, the Playdates episode, episode
Yeah.
10. That's some great stuff with Jay and that other old guy with the young wife.
Yes, Orson Bean is the old guy who's a great actor. He was in, was it Royal Tannenbaums or no, Bean John Malkovich? I don't know. I think it was Bean John Malkovich. It's like the first thing I remember seeing him in, but he's a old movie actor people would recognize. And yeah, he's so much older than Jay. He's like full like
20
25 years
years.
older.
Yeah.
And it's just, the first thing he says is like, "Oh, good. I'm glad you're old too." They
Yeah.
they weren't exaggerating, and Jay's like, "Well, I'm not like this."
He talks
Um,
about like his son. He's like, "Oh, my daughter, 66, she passed last year." Like he's telling about it. And then he's like, "Well, men of our generation." And Jay's
yeah.
like, "Oh, not really." He's like, "I wasn't in that war. I was in the war after that." He's like, "Oh, Korea?" He's like, "No, the one after that." He's like, "More
Yeah.
your dead daughter's generation."
Yeah. Guys like talking about when he visited France and he's like, "I haven't been there since the last time I stormed Normandy."
And even in the cold open, in that I think in the beginning we have the "it's racist daddy" line from Lily
Yes.
to
Yeah.
Cam, because Cam is doing her nails as like a gay dad would do, right? He's doing his daughter's nails, and Lily's supposed to be like 8 or something at this point, 7 or 8, because yeah, she's supposed to age with the seasons here. And Cam's doing it. They're not saying anything, but Cam just keeps doing his little like giggle as he's like doing her nails. And he's just like, "Oh, it's just the juxtaposition." And like it took me a minute to get what he was talking about. Like, and not like a long time, but longer than I had thought. I was like, "Wait, what's he talking about?" I was like, "Oh, the joke is that a white guy is doing the Asian girl's nails instead of the other way around,
Yeah.
like Vietnamese owned like nail salons all over the country." Uh, and he's like laughing about that, and then Lily just gets up. She's like, "It's racist, Daddy." Like,
Yeah, and that wasn't even a funny line for her to say. She did, it's
wasn't
just
even like a funny racist bit. It was like the cheapest like
Mhm.
race joke you could make without having any dialogue. Yeah, like kind
Yeah,
of, yeah.
it wasn't part of the story. There was, it was just like, oh, let's throw this bit in here. to make this cheap racist joke and then tell everyone that that's bad, actually. Like, you
Hmm.
shouldn't do that.
And that's what's new. That's the thing that's
Mhm.
different from the previous six seasons. Whereas it's not only is it a poorly written joke, which I thought was kind of, I texted Eric about this, kind of beneath the writers, at least the writers of the first six seasons here. They
Mhm.
would never do a joke that cheap and easy usually, because it's an easy joke to make, I guess. And again, it was so easy, it kind of went over my head for the first like couple seconds as I was trying to figure out, wait, what's the supposed to be the joke here? And then I was like, oh, come on, that's a cheap one. Like it doesn't even compute right away. But like, yeah, I don't know. That's what's different. And then the point to have the line of dialogue to inform the audience of how they're supposed to feel about it. That's the new thing. That's the thing that like you don't just do the punchline anymore. It's like kind of explaining the punchline. And again, this is partly because of the internet culture. This is what was becoming when you were online. This is what people would act and behave like. But
Mhm.
also, you know, it's a huge part of wokeness, and those things are kind of intertwined. But just, yeah, it does. That is becoming more prominent.
Another thing about just the poor writing on this one, that Manny's mustache plot
Yeah,
in this, it's like Manny's complaining about how no one notices his mustache, and like he doesn't have one. It's the same,
yeah,
and it's supposed to be this bit about, when kids start growing facial hair, like, it's really important to them. So, I mean, it would have been funnier if they just had him grow out like a thin one or put like a thin, almost dirt mustache on him.
yeah, like little
And
wisps or something. Yeah,
yeah, like you see, I see middle schoolers trying to grow that out all the time, and you call it like, it just looks like a dirty, the dirty, trashy mustache. That's not really anything, but they're keeping it there because it's facial hair and they think it's grown up and cool.
oh
Manny
yeah,
is not like that. He's more mature than that, and he knows, he would obviously not think he has this mustache that he keeps like, touching and
yeah.
stroking. Like, this is ridiculous. So yeah, I that plot didn't really work at all either.
That's what I mean. Like Manny is the one where I feel like the writers just gave up or something. Like you could have done so many things with this like kind of unusual little boy character growing up. Like to like again, putting him against normal high school students or something could have been a great little thing, to see him do like his little performances and then the high school students like making fun of him or whatever. But
Mhm.
yeah, something like that with the dirt stash. And again, yeah, it's a kind of a puberty joke, all of that. I mean, dude, I still can't grow a mustache. So I mean, there's that. Like I can't really grow facial hair. Uh, so if you're really fair, uh, which Manny is not, yeah, he probably would have no problem growing a mustache once he hit puberty.
Yeah,
The dark-haired
and
Latino boy. But
and this is also the episode where Phil and Claire go on a double date with a couple they met in Cabo, who apparently they've been going out with every year or so whenever they're in town. Um, and it's Keegan Michael Key is
yeah,
the husband in the other couple, and I think we had Peel on 2 seasons ago, or
yes,
maybe it
with
was last
the
season.
yes with Jay and the buddy cop plot
Yeah,
line,
yeah. So I mean, it was cool to see him. Like
And I guess this is when Key and Peele was ending, like they were ending that show and they were both kind of moving on to other things. So they were like huge names. This is when they show up in Fargo season one as like the cop, the CI, like the FBI agents or whatever.
oh yeah.
Like Key
Mhm.
and Peele were like just a known entity at this time, like comedy duo that people, and I mean, dude, those Key and Peele episodes were fucking hilarious. Like that was a
Oh,
great show. Yeah. They had some genius skits. And I like Keegan-Michael Key as an actor, as a comedy actor or a serious actor. I think he's one that could do a dead serious role too, like a Robin Williams style if he got cast in it.
mhm.
But yeah, he usually, I mean, kind of plays the same every time. But yeah, I mean, he's always funny, and it's he and Phil have that like bet about making them eat crickets or whatever, like, and their wives secretly eat crickets, which is funny.
Yeah. Uh, which at least is finally something that goes along with what Phil would do. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
and we also get a big guest star, two kind of big guest stars, Ray Liotta in this
Oh
episode, and
yes.
then also the voice of Barbara Streisand. We don't see her, but she is credited in the episode, so that is her voice.
And I mean, dude, and probably the show was big enough that if like they reached out to her agent, she'd probably like, yeah, I'll do some voiceover for like a half hour or whatever. And they're like, okay, great, it's all
Yeah.
we need. Like, it was a big enough show that Barbara was probably like, yeah, I'll throw him a bone. I can do it for 30 minutes,
Mhm.
a few takes. That's great. Yeah, dude. Also, it was just kind of like I felt bad for Ray Liotta. He just kind of like his guest spot in this hit comedy series is to play himself. And not only that, like to play like a depressed version of himself or
Yeah.
something like not how he's not as famous as Barbara or whatever. Like,
Yeah, like I think yeah, Cam turns around and sees it's Ray Liotta, and she's like, "Oh, you're Ray Liotta," and the kids have no idea who he is, and he's like,
yeah.
"Goodfellas, Something Wild, Field of Dreams." They're like, "Nope, nope."
All these 90s and 80s hits. Yeah. Like, yeah. Yeah. That's funny. And we also had the Lily flirting with a grown man uh
Oh yeah,
line.
yeah. The confusion. Cam thinks she's flirting with the little boy, but she's actually intimidated and flirting with by the
The
the grown
dad.
man, the dad.
Yeah. And Cam's like, you can't flirt with a grown man, honey. Like, that's
Yeah.
not what I was telling you to do. That's funny. But then there's also the first streaming reference, I think, is in this episode as well.
Oh yeah.
Because
Hmm.
again, it's becoming a thing, and it's because of Jay's telling that old man about Netflix, and he's like, you just get DVDs in the mail. And again, this is 2015, listeners, so Netflix was not doing that anymore. It was fully blown streaming. It was the first streaming service, becoming the online subscription thing. And then the old guy turns to his wife, is just like, oh, he doesn't know about streaming, like, because it's the new thing that's happening here. The streaming wars hadn't even begun yet. We didn't know what was going to come of that. But yeah, the first reference to streaming and how like the old guy doesn't understand streaming, right? Like Jay doesn't understand what streaming is and how it works or any of that. There's still references to the TiVo being full in this season of I think it's in a later episode where like they're upset that Gloria's upset because all of like the movies that she saved for Jay on there to like get him to do what she wants if he cries at like a sad movie or something. They're all like filled up with Joe's like little kid TV shows or something. And she's like, what? You've used all of the TiVo space. And I was just like, man, TiVo space. That's
Yeah.
might even have been dated for 2015. I don't know. But
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think by then there was already like that, DVR or whatever on the or
you got it with your cable
yeah,
subscription. Yeah.
yeah, it was like
Comcast
the
had
cable.
it. Yeah. And I remember, yeah, because we had growing up where I lived is you could only get Comcast if you were doing cable. Uh, but yeah, okay, so all that. And then episode 11, we have the Spread Your Wings episode is called. Uh, that's with Gloria's family sauce, which is there's some great bits in this too, but it's also becoming more and more of this kind of leaking in of the woke stuff. We have Mitch say to Jay at one point that he has rich white man problems.
Hmm.
So he's like literally saying this to his dad. Uh, and not only is that, like Mitch is like in his 40s saying this to his dad, who's like been a lawyer his whole career, and I'm just like, oh, aren't you a rich white man? Okay,
Yeah. Well,
aren't
no,
your
he's
problems
gay, so
like
it's different. He
exactly?
apparently
Yeah,
has problems, right? So he's a minority. Uh,
because of it's the Vietnamese dance troupe sleepover that Mitch and Cam are hosting because for Lily's friends.
another trans reference in that one.
Is there? I missed it. What was?
Yeah, he's the lady's dropping off her daughter, and he's like, "Oh, thank you, Mrs. Trans. Oh, we had a couple of trans over for dinner," and he just stops right there because he realizes like she wouldn't get it, like the trans. He had trans people over, not last name trans. Yeah.
There's a few bits about the Asian last names still, because I think there's a later one during the promposal where the girl that Luke wants to ask to prom. Her name is like Sarah Ho. And like Mitch is like that cheap hoe, like he like says it and like, oh, Mitt, like Cam, what are you talking about? He's like, no, she gave me a $5 gift card on Teacher Appreciation Day. Her last name is literally Ho, like
Yeah.
Ho Asian name. And then the trans is her last name, but it's yeah, they just have the kind of Asian last names, which eventually goes away here, but there's still a little bit of that. We also have this as one of the plots with it's funny, but like still Gloria's family sauce, the sacred family sauce, right? That is her cultural heritage, and how dare anybody try to change the recipe or or copy the recipe or it just that yeah, I was just like, oh, here we go, the sacred family sauce, right? Like, oh, only
Yeah.
my family made red tomato sauce or salsa or like
Yeah.
whatever it is.
That abuelita's special recipe passed down from her abuelita. Like, yeah.
And there's also, I mean, there's this mistake that people make because in America, our first introduction to Latin American cuisine was Mexican cuisine, and then, Tex-Mex, where it got kind of Americanized. And, that's basically what Taco Bell is. And, like, all of these things are like the Tex-Mex version of Mexican. And that's like spicy, food, salsa, and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's where we get a lot of that stuff. Literally the Spanish word for sauce is salsa. Like that's like literally the word for sauce. So it's like, but then when you go to other regions, when you get past Central America into the South America, like really the only spicy foods are like in that like Central American region where they would grow peppers regularly because of the heat and all of that.
Mhm.
Whereas when you go to other nations in like Latin America, spice isn't a huge, like when you eat Brazilian food or something, it's not about like heat, it's not like Thai food or anything where it's about like the heat or Mexican food where it's about the heat and the spice and stuff, giving it a lot of flavor. So there's always just like a confusion. Like I remember thinking, I was like, is Colombian food even supposed to be spicy? Like, is that like, uh,
I have no
uh,
idea.
me neither. Like, yeah, me neither. Listeners, if you know, let us know. But I know that that is a point of confusion that a lot of people just kind of conflate all Latin American cuisine with Mexican, which is, yes, spicy and a lot of peppers and, all that kind of thing. But I don't know. Just something I picked up on. And then, but this is the start of that, the sacred family sauce, the sacred family cuisine, the sacred ritual of sitting down to dinner with a large family or something at a at a holiday. That's my cultural tradition. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
everybody's cultural tradition.
Yeah. Our culture, we really value food in our culture. It's like every culture really values food. And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
yeah.
Like the German beer halls, yeah, they really value that too. Like the sausage competitions they hold every year. Okay, and
Yeah.
yeah. And they're like, oh, it's that always pissed me off too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Even now, dude, when I'm at Thai restaurants and stuff here in the city in the year 2026, if it's like a very Asian place, which is like, okay, meaning all of the workers there are, know the family or are from that region or something, right? Like literally, it's a small business run and it has great food. When I
Mm.
order something that's like super spicy, like I always even get like these warnings. If it's a not a white waiter or waitress, it's like an Asian one. They're always like, "No, you don't want that." Like you don't like they would like literally tell me what I don't want, type of
Yeah.
thing. And I'm just like, okay, now who's being racist? I'm like, okay, now who's talking about cuisine?
Yeah. White
No,
man cannot handle that.
right, yeah,
You're too
exactly.
white.
I'm
Yeah.
like, I know I'm a blonde white guy, but I do like spicy food. I love really spicy food. But yeah, okay, that what was that? Oh, the Jane Fonda workout tapes in this one
Yeah.
with Jay, which is great.
Yeah.
Great little throwback. Um, Also, this is the one where they have that kind of like Vietnamese sweatshop bit where they have to bottle the sauce and they don't have enough time. And Jay's like, well, we could get it done because they have, all these like Vietnamese girls at Mitch and Cam's house sleeping over. And
Yeah.
like the one mother comes to like drop off medicine that the daughter forgot. And they're like all in like a assembly line, like with hairnets. And Jay's like over him screaming. He's like, all right, pick up the pace, ladies. Pick
Yeah.
up the pace. And like, the woman just like takes her daughter and leaves. Mitch
Yeah.
answers the door. He's like, it's not as bad as it looks. They're like all these little Vietnamese girls doing like slave labor. Like,
Yeah. Jay's whole idea was like, oh, if we get them moving, if we get them to do stuff, then they'll be tired at the end of the night. And so yeah, that was like get them to work.
Dude, that's true though too, dude. Especially like being a parent now, like when you have like if you're not running these kids out before bedtime, like they're gonna not go to bed. Like like with any leftover energy, even if it's just jumping on the couch or whatever, like it's all right. Let's last hour of being awake. You got to run that energy out. You need them to sit
Yeah.
still for an hour. Or make sure they're running hills before they come here and sit still for an hour. Okay, like let that
Yeah.
energy get out. Uh, so that's the thing, yeah. And like Jay's like, oh, the experienced parent. That's always funny, yeah. But yeah, that Jane Fonda, and he like takes the tape at the end of the episode. He just like puts it in his coat. Uh, damn, the Jane Fonda workout tapes. What? All right, episode 12 is the clean for a day. I didn't have much on this except for it's Phil's first redemption in this season
Mhm.
when he reveals that he's kept a storage unit for years and like held on to all the junk that Clara was trying to get rid of.
Ah, yeah.
That's like the first moment of redemption for Phil. He had just been getting beaten up this season, always losing, not able to have his ducks imprint on him, like everything. He's just always he's always losing, always getting beaten up. And that's like the first moment where, yeah, actually Phil's a good dad and like saves the day and like is a
Mhm.
good man, like a good, like, loves his family type thing. That's funny. Um,
Yeah, I don't.
There were a few where I wrote down the episode title preparing as the episode was starting and I just have like zero notes.
Yeah, I I didn't really have much for that episode.
Same, dude. That's literally the only note I had. It's like I had like all these notes for like a previous episode. But then
Yeah.
this one came on and I was like, oh, it's Phil's first redemption at the end.
Well, Claire doing Mrs. Clutterworth. I guess I
Yeah,
wrote
that
that
was
down. Her
funny. Yeah,
weird
yeah.
character.
That was
Yeah.
funny. Yeah.
But yeah, that's it.
Yeah, and then episode 13 is Thunk in the Trunk
And
with Gloria's cutout, which is a great classic sitcom gag.
mhm.
uh with Jay and Manny trying to get that cut out, like the sexy cutout of Gloria with her sauce.
Yeah,
Uh, but this
yeah.
is
And
also no, please.
is that the one where they run into the maybe that's a different one. The other lady who's selling her sauce.
Yeah, Auntie
That's still her.
Alice,
Yeah, Auntie Alice.
who
Yeah,
comes up
that's
a few times
hmm
this season because she's like the rival of like a local sauce maker
Yeah,
that sells them in the grocery store, a sauce startup. And this is also the episode where Clara becomes CEO officially, and she has a whole little confessional bit about how she is now a white male and is like basking in how great it is.
yeah,
But then also the joke is that she's miserable, right? By the end of the episode, she's like stressed and it's too much. She doesn't know what she's doing, and it's like difficult to be in charge, blah, blah. So it's still kind of written as a joke, but again, it's there now, right? That it's like if you're a white male, you're automatically a powerful CEO, right? Like Eric and I know all about that, listeners, being powerful CEOs and
yeah.
having our own businesses and making a lot of money just because of that. Um, but yeah, so and
This is
again, it's
also
small, but yeah, please.
yeah. I know this is also the where Cam and Mitch rent out their house to some suspicious
Oh yeah,
tenants, and they don't know what's going on with them, and eventually uh, I think yeah, Mitch goes upstairs to investigate, and he finds that they're like they collect like miniature figurines or something,
yeah,
like some sort of
like
weird
little
toy, and
ceramic dolls or
they're in town for a toy convention, and they have them all like laid out on the table when Mitch gets up to the apartment, and like eventually he accidentally knocks one table over, and then like all the other ones fall. Yeah, and they all break. That was a good physical comedy bit that they did.
also very internet, right? Like
Mhm.
also very like these niche hobbies, Comic-Con, these weird like
Yeah.
things for dorks that people were always embarrassed about, curio cabinets full of like porcelain dolls or weird things that, like my parents, my mother collects teapots.
Hmm.
and like puts them on display and like your various ones, when we travel somewhere, blah blah blah.
Hmm.
There's always been something like that, but like with the internet, it was becoming like a huge, you could, just like everything else. Now all of a sudden there's like you could find a community of like people that are also obsessed with these figurines and like just become have it take over your whole life. Like
Yeah,
uh
and I mean, especially it was like, definitely nerd culture was like, it was normal for grown people to still collect comic books and action figures and stuff, whereas, that really wasn't. I mean, people did, but it wasn't considered
it was
like
small.
normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's same thing with baseball card collecting or anything like that. Like people did it and since the boomer era and even before then, right? But it was always a niche thing. Not everybody did it, like not everybody collected baseball cards for their entire life. Maybe when they're a couple years when they were kids, but like,
Yeah,
some
you
people
grow out
carried
of
it
it.
off into adulthood. If you went to a card show or something like that, even 10, 20 years ago, it would be small. It would be a couple old people with tables set up, like it would not be a huge convention center thing that it is now with these kind of weird, niche communities everywhere. A product of the internet, but still they use it great in the show and it's a great bit. And the people they show the people that are into it is like total weirdos, very creepy and
Yeah.
freaks like that are like antisocial and all of that stuff. But that is great too when he breaks all of them because the cam is like trying to distract them and he's like having them over for wine. And then you
Yeah.
hear that huge crash upstairs in that unit and Cam's just like sipping the wine, like twirling it, like looking at these, oh, like, yeah, that's great. Uh, but yeah, Gloria's cutout gag is great. With Manny and Jay trying to get rid of it.
Yeah,
And
don't they put it in a shredder or something?
yeah, there's
Yeah.
also a great Jay montage where they show him like trying to get rid of it before he even involves Manny in it. And he's like trying to do and it's like not working. So like they're all like struggling to get rid of this cardboard cutout. Uh, all right, The Storm, episode 14. This one I really loved the power outage premise.
Hmm.
Classic sitcom kind of thing with the power out. And this is the episode where Claire seeing Manny naked, where I was first kind of like, it felt like, again, like there could have been so much more into this kind of the power being out um, gag. The best part of it really was the Jay trying to go to the pub.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I don't know, just that Claire seeing Manny naked bit, it just seems so off to me. Like they were acting like kind of like college roommates or something instead of like family that like a kind of
Yeah. Like you just laugh it off, it
right
wouldn't
or
be a
just like,
big
oh, I'm
deal.
so sorry, oh, I'm so sorry,
Yeah.
and then you just never mention it again because why nobody's
Yeah.
even thinking about it ever again. I mean, who cares, right?
Yeah.
But then
Like
they
it may
make it
be
this
awkward for the
whole
rest of the day.
thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
Like I said, I could see Manny being humiliated by it, like the teen, the
Mhm.
preteen could, like the 14, 15-year-old being humiliated. But like the adult being like embarrassed or whatever, like Claire, like not knowing what to say, not knowing how to deal with it. I don't know. It just felt a little like, I don't know, who's writing this? Who's writing this right now?
Yeah, especially with Claire, who's supposed to be, a boss. She's empowered.
And
Like
like the
she wouldn't,
mean mom who always says no or
mhm.
punishing people and stuff. Like,
She wouldn't care that much about his feelings. Like she'd be like, shrug it off, move on, stop it with your, embarrassment about this. Um, that I do like the J line storyline where he is trying to go to the pub and he just can't get there. But at the very end, again, this is one of those, it's a sweet moment, but it's not a funny moment. There's no laughter
right,
where he's talking to Phil about how he needed to go to the pub because a buddy of his died and they had to pact that no matter where they are, they're going to find the nearest Irish pub, meet up. And, there's a moment where, as he's telling that story, Phil brings Jay over a beer and like a little Irish four leaf clover type thing to make it seem like he's at a pub. and then he drinks a beer, and then Jay gets a beer out for Phil and has him sit down next to him, and there's no they could have done something kind of funny at the end just to
Right.
make a joke, which they would have previously. Now it's just no, let's have that sweet moment and just let it sit there, and it changes the mood of the show.
Yeah, and it was like also because one of the running gags was that Phil is always trying to bond with Jay and Jay never lets him, you know? And it was just a moment where Jay lets him kind of bond with him and he's actually grateful for it, like genuinely. So I was like, okay, like the bonding moment, like I get that's nice. It was kind of I wrote even like a glimmer of the show's previous kind of glory, where you would have these crazy antics, but then there would be this kind of family bonding moment at the end. But yeah,
Mhm.
you I kept waiting for something to happen, like Phil to say something to ruin the moment or whatever, you know, because he's just kind of not saying anything for that whole time that Jay's talking and he's like doing those things to like but yeah, that uh we also have the Phil not being a real man plot line is back. Like he can't pump the pool, he can't do these types of things, the release valve and stuff. He's like again this insecurity of Phil all of a sudden like coming up that was like never there before. You know, the
Mhm.
gag was like the vasectomy not a real man thing was Phil was oblivious to that, you know, like kind
Yeah.
of but now the entire episode he's like paranoid about not being a real man and like not being masculine and stuff. It was just, I just when I was just like, yeah, I can tell that they may have hired like a few more women than usual in the writers' room this season. I don't know.
Yeah.
Uh, oh, that's right. He doesn't feel like he's a man because he dressed as a clown and then saw himself in the mirror and scared himself or whatever. Like that's what it is because he was dressing as Fizbo the clown. Yeah, I don't know. That Fizbo the clown shit. I'm glad it was brief. There was only like a few instances in that episode because that's the Lily's birthday party with the cool girl.
Episode 15, we get a Pepper episode,
Yeah.
which is always good.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, this is also where Ben, that the assistant to Claire at her work, really has like a major. It starts becoming more of a major part of the series.
Yeah. They're giving him like a personality and stuff,
Hmm.
constantly talking about his alcoholic divorced parents or whatever. Like all of this kind of trauma is character building.
Yeah, and it is this kind of like uh but she feels that she has to like control everything at home, be on top of all that, and also be on top of all the stuff at work. So she has Ben do all the home stuff, like go home, make lasagna, meet the repairman, all this stuff. Um, and it's kind of one of those, it does kind of acknowledge like, oh, like, no, you can't like juggle both perfectly, even if you're a strong, independent woman.
Yeah. The myth of being able to do both. Yeah. The myth of having it all.
Mhm.
And that, yeah, probably the funniest part about this is the Cam and Mitch at the wedding with Pepper, and Pepper like complaining about how terrible, how much he hates planning, how much he hated planning that wedding. It's like trash to him.
Yeah.
Uh,
Excuse me. I have to go to the mashed potato bar and get some of what are called fixins. And he starts crying. You're complaining about getting one of these things called fixins.
and like, yeah, you learn that Lily hates how her like fathers dance or whatever.
Mhm.
That's a great bit too, because they start dancing at the wedding. She's like, "Oh, I really don't like the way you're dancing." And then they're like, "Oh, you don't like this?" And they start dancing. And then Lily goes to that like Asian family that's just like sitting at the wedding at like a table, and she's like, "If anybody asks, I'm with you." Like, and they're like the family like looks at her confused. Like it's just, yeah, that's great. Phil downgraded to a housewife.
Yeah.
Uh, Crazy. Yeah, I mean, all that kind of stuff is happening. I don't know how she does it. Yeah. Dude, episode 16, the cover up. I I loved Phil's plot line in this one
Yeah.
because it's back with Phil being into like black chicks is back,
Mhm.
uh, and he's
And it's
like,
like fully acknowledged now.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
yeah. It's not just something he says and you notice like, oh, he's always like really drawn to black women. Now it's like he's actually acknowledging it. He's like, yes, I have a thing for black women.
Yeah. Whereas, but yeah, which is stated directly at a certain point. Yeah, which is it's kind of a classic sitcom bit where the black woman thinks he's racist, but what he's actually is just he's really attracted to her, so he's been lying to his wife about
Yeah.
who the client is or whatever, and
That's why he doesn't want her to move across the street from him.
but yeah, that's funny. He also has one of those like a line where when they run into each other on the street because she's going to the yoga with the hot instructor who's been like feeling her up and he's meeting the sexy black girl client.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and then she's, oh, well, we have to go. He's like, yeah, see you black home. So he does like another one of those little slips like in the previous seasons as he runs away. Uh, this is the one where Jay is on YouTube now or whatever
Yeah.
blogging.
Yeah, that would again, yeah, like old people finding that, they can do stuff on YouTube and all he does is, a sort of grumpy old man complaining about things that, the modern day. You know what's wrong with things today?
Yeah.
It's just kind of funny, but he always gets harassment from some guy named Lady Killer, and we find out that it's actually Earl that's been trolling his page. And again, they get into like an old man fight. And Jay confronts him, and uh, yeah, I mean, I think that was really good. It's always funny when they bring Earl in. I hope they keep doing more of that um, later on because we only really get 2 episodes with him this season. And that's
And
when I think Jay decides he should go back to work, or maybe not.
yeah, it happens around there. I don't know if it's that episode specifically, but it's around this time where he's, I want to go back. But this is also where Manny starts taking the role of like explaining the internet and culture to different characters, usually Jay, but like he's being reduced to this kind of thing where he's like, it's called a troll, Jay, or you have to double click, Jay, or, like explaining like basic things to him.
Yeah,
And I'm just like, yeah, always, again, a misuse of Manny, but yeah,
the
that's
double
just,
click thing was funny. Jay
yeah,
keeps trying to double click.
yeah, especially on a tablet.
Yeah.
Uh, we have the Express Yourself episode, which is the Pam is back episode, and I didn't have anything written on that.
Um,
Episode 17, I think,
yeah.
is.
Yeah, Pam comes back. Oh, well, Phil and Claire try to stay up late all night to go to
Oh,
Paris.
right. Yeah.
And it does end with them, like exiting their front door, ready to, leave, go to the airport to leave for Paris. But we never actually get them in Paris, which is kind of a disappointment. So why are you going to put that in there? Especially a show where it's like if they've ever are going to a place, we're going to see them at that
Right.
place. Um, but yeah, it just ends, and then yeah, the next episode, nothing about Paris. It just continues like normal. So again, just kind of some weak writing. Um,
Even the way that's introduced in the beginning, I noticed how kind of weak it was in the dialogue where he just said, talking about the app that gives you like travel deals or something. He's like, we do first class tickets to Paris, blah, 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 like 3 nights or something. And then he says, for practically nothing. Like that's like what he says it costs. And I'm just like, all right, what do first class tickets to Paris cost, even at a discount? So you're talking, so I mean, if it's practically nothing, we're talking about an international flight to Europe. We're talking what you're talking 5 grand for a nice, like, that's,
yeah,
I guess, a deal for whatever you're doing that. But I mean, like, that's usually like a $10,000 to $15,000 thing. You're doing first class airfare.
yeah,
That's half the money right there plus the hotel at a 5-star hotel or whatever. I don't know. It was just a cheap little thing. And I get it. They were just putting it in there to move the plot along. But I just thought I was like, yeah, that's just a little weak in terms of writing, like how you're going to get this to move along. Uh, and then of course Pam is back, and I was just, yeah, of course Pam is an unfunny and awful, and I
Yeah,
just
really
hate when she
annoying.
comes back. Yeah. The episode after that is episode 18, The Party, where Manny and Luke are having a party with Lily. But I also, the first thing I noticed was like Phil and Mitch waiting in line for a sci-fi movie in 2015.
Yeah.
I was like, I can't even remember. Like, did that even happen? I guess it would happen for things like Star Wars or something.
Yeah, Star Wars or like a Star Trek. Maybe it was supposed to be like an Avatar type thing.
Something like that. Because
But yeah,
Phil with that thing on his head is pretty great. I was laughing every time I saw him with like that little like demon thing on his head or whatever. It was just so funny.
yeah, but also it's this kind of, people, men, grown men that have normal, like high-paying jobs,
Right.
still dress up as dorks and go to the movie theater. And I love the line that he says when they're in line waiting for the movie. He's like, "Oh, Claire's right. No girls."
Yeah. And weed is back as a plot line.
Yeah. Yeah, they take weed gummies, again, edibles being like the method of choice usually for middle-aged people, and they apparently had never tried weed before
Growing
and
up in
doing the whole
SoCal, yeah,
yeah,
they'd never tried it. Yeah.
ever. And I don't know, it is kind of funny because they're beginners, so they're timing it like 45 minutes. We have 45 minutes till
Yeah.
it kicks in, and then they get called to come back home because Claire and Gloria think that the boys are throwing a party, which they are.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
funny too. Yeah.
but
When they're all
yeah.
hiding in that room. That is
Mhm.
funny. Because that's always my biggest pet peeve whenever weed comes into a fictional thing. Not so much anymore, I guess, because everybody's tried it at this point, almost everybody, but like at some point in your life, but like just the way it would always be depicted as like totally incapacitating retards or something. Like I just like, all right, the people writing this have never done this, if that's what
Yeah.
they think happens. So I thought they did a good job in this about making them not totally like retarded, just like slower and like kind of like unaware and unsure and a little paranoid or whatever. I thought the way they depicted like Phil and Mitch doing that was I was like, all right, at least they depicted it like accurately.
Yeah, they
But
and they gave
also,
some big, long, awkward speech at the end, and how it was revealed, and Jay makes his point, and he's like, "Oh, and also, am I the only one who doesn't see that these guys are high as kites?" Like, because it was like pretty, like kind of obvious that they were acting differently, but not too much, but enough.
also it's just weird how they got the gummies. Like they're waiting in line, and like some guy that Phil sold a house to a few years ago just hands them these like weed laced gummies. Like, it's just kind of insane. And then they take them. Again, I've never worked in real estate or anything like that, so I know you're supposed to keep, some type of, relationship with your clients or whatever, because then if they ever need to buy a house again, they'll go to you or something. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, how close are you? Are you just taking drugs from them in a movie theater line with your brother-in-law? Uh, but whatever,
Also,
you can forgive it at that. Yeah.
when they try calling Luke's phone and they hear his voicemail uh, message, and Claire's like, uh, uh, wow, I don't know. Luke's rap, that's a bit sexist. And they start talking, like, I guess he's got some rap for his voicemail.
Oh yeah.
And she talks about how sexist it is. But when Phil hears it, he's like, oh, Luke's rap, it's hilarious. Just those two different reactions. So,
Oh yeah.
um, in the beginning, Jay does mention he tells a story about how he sold a home, or sorry, he sold the closet to the creator of Alf.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just thought that was great.
Which makes me didn't Steve what's it didn't Steve Levitan write on Alf or something? Didn't one of these guys, Christopher Lloyd
He
or
might have. I don't know. I can't
because
remember.
this isn't the first Alf reference either. I feel like I did interview one of the writers from that show. Listeners, go back and listen to it. Leslie Rasmussen. She was one of the writers on Alf, and she talked about on that episode, yeah, how just what it was like. Yeah, to like they'd mess with the puppet during rehearsals and stuff, and like they'd get like really raunchy, and yeah, it would just be like funny. So
Yeah, I always like remember just the creator of Alf. I thought, did you ever see that movie Permanent Midnight?
no.
It was with Ben Stiller and Janine Garofalo, and it was about I guess I think the guy who created Alf originally. So I don't know how long if he even worked on the show a lot, but he was a huge heroin addict. He was like, and according according to the movie, he came up with Alf because it was like what he would like talk to when he was on heroin, like or with withdrawals, I guess, or something. This yeah.
Damn, that is funny. Episode 19, we have The Man Shouldn't Lie with the Christian rock band staying at
Uh,
Cam and Mitch's Airbnb,
yeah.
which is great. And then the we do this is the one where they repeat the finding the animal plot line in the same season where Claire finds the stray dog,
Mhm.
like Phil finds the ducks. Um, they also redo the Cam playing the drums plot line from like season one. Uh, but yeah, the gay band member is great.
Mhm.
Great bit.
He's not ashamed of being gay. He's ashamed of he doesn't want to be a drummer anymore.
Yeah. Uh,
And yeah, no, that was good. And Cam has to fill in for him on drums when they play their concert. And their first song is about how being gay is how a man shouldn't lie, with another
man
man.
shouldn't
Yeah.
lie. Man shouldn't lie.
And just Cam's face when he hears the lyrics, and just starts doing, his own like kind of backing vocals, unless
Yeah.
they really love each other.
Yeah, he's like singing, like ruining the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's always funny too. Because they have it like the whole through line is yeah, that Cam is like, I know many very nice Christians, accepting Christians, blah blah blah. And then like, Mitch is like, oh yeah, well I got bullied by Christians, blah blah, so I don't like them. And then like eventually they're like praying or whatever before it, and like Mitch gets won over by these guys. Oh, he's just being so accepting. He's like, pray for Dex, like the band member that left. He's like, and just know that we accept him no matter what. And then Mitch is like, oh, these are nice guys. And then they go out and play that song, Man Shouldn't Lie with Another Man. And like they're like, yeah, it's like awkward as shit. Uh, but this is where I'm just like, all right, we're starting to repeat some storylines too in the same episodes where you have Cam filling in on drums again for a band that like he has no business being in. And that's funny too. And then we have Claire finding an animal, like the finding an animal plot line being repeated. But we do have a great with Phil and I mean with Jay and his like friend that Gloria makes him hang out with that he actually really likes.
Yeah, Adam Arkin, guest star.
Uh and he doesn't want to admit that he likes this guy because then Gloria's going to make him try other new things that he doesn't want to try,
Yeah.
like female, like women movies and like new fancy trendy restaurants or whatever.
Yeah, but again, they do repeat it is a storyline of much like with the older couple or that older guy, that Orson Bean, that episode. I mean, it's Gloria wanting Jay to make new friends. I have more friends,
Right.
meet new people. So it does seem a little lazy sometimes, and they just okay, we'll just have them do that. They're meeting another couple, but at least he does like this one, and he ends up being invited to go on a yacht with members of the LA Kings, and Wayne Gretzky's going to be there, but he's going to have to tell Gloria about it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I do love at the end of it, they make that thing where she like Gloria makes him go to an Ethiopian restaurant and then they go see some like chick movie.
Mhm.
And like Jay was like talking about it, and like they cut to Gloria at the end. She's like, "It was terrible, but I couldn't let him know that." Like she's like eating the Ethiopian food, and Jay's like, "It's not too bad." Like, and she's like, and just like doing this, just like, "Oh, it's so nasty," which is funny because that's become like a thing now, right? That was a thing during the last election cycle and all of this, like, oh, Ethiopian food, oh, it's so tasty. This mashed up mush like on a tortilla. It's so unique and flavorful, but I mean, dude, if anybody's gone to there's plenty. If you live in a major city, there are plenty of Ethiopian restaurants. They're never that busy. Okay, there was an Afghanistan, like an Afghan restaurant in where I grew up, like near where like, and I've been there many times. They have great food. It's really good. I would still like Ethiopian food sucks. Okay, the Afghan food is better than Ethiopian food. All right, like
Every day on Twitter, I see someone posting something about Ethiopia. I always see a picture of Ethiopian food, and just like the little pieces of vomit that it looks like. I don't know,
yeah, the way it's
scattered around.
presented is awful. Yeah. Where it's just like piles of shit like on this one tortilla that you had to share with the whole, like it's just awful. The way it's presented is just awful. That's bad too. But yeah, that's always funny too. Because again, you can still make a joke like that. It's funny and it's Gloria making it, you know?
Mhm.
Whereas like there's so many gags before this about how Colombian food kind of sucks. And I think there's even one of Jay trying to feed it to the dog because he's always Gloria thinks he likes it, but he just feeds it to the dog because it's like
Yeah.
terrible. Like yeah, raised cow feed or whatever, chicken feed or something like. Uh, but yeah, that was great. The gay band member was hilarious. The Ethiopian food, Jay. uh, and then we have an internet episode, episode 20 with the promposal. The
Yeah.
promposal phenomenon.
Hmm.
The reason and I don't even have many notes on this because there's a few bits, but they're not great. But it's just like the promposal phenomenon was purely a social media driven phenomenon. Didn't exist when you and I were going to prom. It only started existing during the social media takeover of, yeah, let's say 2014-ish era to now,
Yeah.
like an elaborate way to ask somebody to prom. Who even does that too, dude? I mean, when you and I were in high school, dude, like, wouldn't you just went with your girlfriend? Like at the time, like I don't even remember
Yeah. No, that's just
asking, like,
it's yeah. You usually just went with your girlfriend unless you didn't have one. Then
yeah, I guess if you don't have one, yeah, then,
you would ask a girl that you kind of liked, and but no one did anything elaborate. I mean, probably just someone did it once. It went viral, and then that's when every girl wanted that.
hmm.
You know.
And the whole point became to film it for social media. Even when this was around the time when I proposed to my wife too, and we like there's the same thing for just like any type of proposal. So asking somebody to prom, asking somebody to marry, like, it just became this like social media Instagram thing where you would need your friends to film it and you have to do it in this scenic, this perfect scenic thing, blah, 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 on the beach. And it's just like, yeah, I didn't do any of that. And like, I didn't want any of that. Like, I don't know. It just, yeah, you would think of just filming proposals, I guess back when we couldn't film those types of things beforehand. And now that we could, it just became, I don't know.
Mhm.
Normally you'd see it in a restaurant or something, and if you saw it in a restaurant, usually everybody would clap if they saw it. That was about as much of a public thing you would get out of a
Yeah.
proposal of some sort. Yeah. Uh, that's about as much as I remember before it became, but yeah, I was just okay. And honestly, they kind of misuse Cam too, where Cam is great because he wants to help everybody, but then they have like this weird backstory of him like doing his own promposal like 20 years before or something before it was even a thing. And he
Yeah.
even references that it wasn't really a thing when he's telling the story. Uh, but yeah.
Yeah, I I did like one thing I wrote down was Phil getting upset because he had that song called Snappy that was
Oh
just to the
yeah.
same tune. and he's claiming that oh God, what's the guy's name? Pharrell stole it for Happy. And again, this is that time where like that song was everywhere. And it was everywhere for a good 2.5 years.
Oh yeah.
After that, I mean, you just heard Happy on like grocery stores, like
I
uh
mean, dude,
commercial, like everywhere.
Weird Al parodied it, like did a
Yeah.
parody, and then that was huge. Like when he did a parody, like so you know the song was famous if that's happening. Yeah, that is funny with kind of the early YouTube, yeah, still with some of this, but we have the Crazy Train episode 21.
Yeah, so and this is kind of, I guess it's a travel episode a little bit because I think that that train, um, I don't know if it's a real California line or if it's in Portland because I know that the writers they got the idea for that because they took a train trip in somewhere around Portland, I think from LA to Portland. And that's how they came up with the idea of using that like horseshoe turn as part of
Yeah.
the plot line. Um, but yeah, it was okay. Yeah, so they go back for to attend Dee Dee's wedding, Jay's ex-wife, and he's excited about it because he finally doesn't have to pay her any is it alimony. This is
Yeah.
yeah, he is still
Once you're
paying alimony.
divorced, if you ever get remarried, then you're no longer on the hook for alimony from your ex.
Yeah.
Uh, and I guess if Jay was wealthy when they got divorced, he'd been giving her a lot of money every month or whatever.
Mhm. Um, and they kind of do a Titanic parody with Alex meeting
Yeah,
the
that's funny. Yeah.
superstar. Yeah. Yeah, that was good.
Going into the coach in the first class on a train too, because yeah, 'cause I think even Alex says he's like, it's like a $20 difference. It's like a train, you know,
Yeah.
like it's like $20 difference for a first class and a coach seat. Uh, and they have that
And
kind of cartoon character writer uh
yes,
with a
Cameron.
typewriter on the train. He's literally using a typewriter in
Yeah.
2015 on a train, on a shaky train to
Yeah, Cam and Phil bond over their love of the writer. And so, yeah, the writer asks them to look at his new novel and they read it and they love it and they come back to him and be like, it's great, except I think they question some part of it. And the guy's like, oh, great, the novel doesn't work now. So they spend like the rest of the show trying to figure out how the novel will make sense.
yeah, there was like the plot line because it's supposed to be like some hero spy mystery novel, and the plot is the conductor is like kills somebody, and in the book he like climbs over the top of the train cars, like in the old school kind of Indiana Jones, you know,
Mhm.
style. But then they bring up, they're like, oh, how does he avoid the cameras? And they're like, he's like, what cameras? And it's like,
Oh,
oh
yeah.
yeah, well, I mean, nowadays they have cameras to prevent like homeless people from doing that and stuff. Like, because it is a kind of a safety hazard, yeah, especially if you're going through the mountain passes to be on top of a train going 60 miles an hour minimum. Like, uh, yeah, so there's that, and then they have to like do this elaborate thing to help him get the plot because the guy's like, oh, well, the book's ruined, I'm gonna throw it out. Yeah, that was the most interesting part. Funny too with Cam and Mitch. The Luke trying to hit on that woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
And it's just becoming
could have cut
embarrassing at
that.
this
Yeah,
point. Yeah.
could have cut it
So,
out of the episode and it wouldn't have mattered at all. Yeah.
yeah, just showing how he's dumb, like, oh, I talking about where the Rio Grande flows into Lake Superior or something. It just shows
Yeah.
he knows nothing about geography. And she turns out to be a geography teacher. Um,
Hottest geography teacher ever
yeah,
too.
I know. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah, that doesn't exist. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, still some gags, and yeah, really the best plot line are yeah, Jay trying to convince the Dee Dee's new husband's children or whatever that like Dee Dee isn't insane because they overhear him talking on the train or something. And then yeah, Alex doing her like Titanic going to the third class and they're like playing like fiddle music and like dancing in the halls like it's Titanic. Like
Yeah, I did. Yeah, no, I like the Titanic parody and yeah, the Mr.
where they're like, oh, these people know how to live down here.
Person. So, I don't know, was there like a health issue going on with Shelley Long because she wasn't, she skipped a couple uh seasons
Yeah.
and, because they usually try, had one, I think the first two seasons it was like um one episode each season with her and then she was just gone. So I don't know what was going on with her personally, but at least had her through Zoom.
Yeah, she did a couple of the Zoom, basically like 10 seconds of her on Zoom talking, uh, which was whatever. Yeah, I remember when they first started not having, it was like 2 seasons ago or something we talk about where you said there was like a vague thing in an interview where Steve Levitan said something about how he like wasn't giving a lot of details, but just that how she didn't want to come back or something like to do it anymore. And
Yeah.
so they just kind of wrote her out. And I guess she came back to do like a 30-minute little Zoom recording or
Yeah, it may not
whatever.
have been like a health issue. Maybe if she didn't like working with them, maybe they're like, just record this for us so you won't have to
Yeah.
come in and deal with us, but we need you somewhere in this episode. We can't do this episode, without you.
Yeah, and I think after this, I can't remember precisely, but I think after this, they totally write her off the show.
Yeah.
Like, uh, because we don't see the wedding, we don't see anything like that, which could have been a funny finale going to that wedding and then like having some, disastrous thing happen or whatever.
I
Could have been
mean,
funny. Yeah.
they may have planned that and she still turned it down, but
Right.
yeah, no, I mean, once she's married, this seems like the perfect way to just ditch Dee
Right.
Dee, any of those storylines. Um, yeah, I don't remember if they ever bring her back. Just like at the end, the final season, sometimes they'll like dig up past storylines because like you're really running out
Yeah.
by season 11 probably. So
I saw that final season, they only did 18 episodes because I was shocked when we got to the only
oh,
22 here. I checked and I was like, all right, we have all these seasons on Hulu. I was going through, I was like, all right, 24, 24, and then we get to season seven, it's 22, and then at season 11, it's only 18. Uh, so they
I
chop it
mean,
even more.
it was probably worth it also because reality shows were just becoming, cheaper, easier to produce. And so, like, if you can put on a reality show that goes all summer. And if you just kind of start it a little earlier, maybe you can get two in. Or they were
Right.
trying like game shows at that
And it was
time too.
and like we talked about in the very first, starting this project, the very first episode, you know, streaming is here now. It was like this show started before streaming, and now streaming is here. So I'm sure the viewership's going down just because everything's changing about how people consume. Doesn't even say anything about the quality of the show, just people just aren't watching shows as they air anymore.
Yeah.
So they were probably just cutting the budget or whatever because they were getting more from people, yeah, watching a reality TV show or streaming something than they were for people watching a show as it aired, even
Yeah.
so that was as big as Modern Family. That's another great thing about it is it really kind of captures the last gasp of like hit television and then like what it becomes towards the end of this show's run, like nobody cares. You heard more about the wedding finale in like season 4 or 5 than you did the actual finale of the entire series, which is I think aired in like 2020 or something. So, you know,
Yeah.
it just yeah, that was just happening.
Before we move on to the finale, though, an interesting fact about this episode. So the
Oh yeah.
person who plays Dee Dee's person she's going to marry, who plays like their children, I guess. The guy is from Mr. Show, uh, Jay Johnston, who was at January 6th. And
Really?
that was, yeah, blacklisted pretty much from the industry. He doesn't get any work because he's always like good at playing like bit characters, like in this and like other sitcoms. But yeah, he was at January 6th.
Damn, dude. Damn. And that gets you, wow. I didn't even realize.
Yeah, because I saw it. I'm like, is that Jay Johnston? Yeah.
Damn.
A couple of years later, he won't be seen again in Hollywood.
Damn. And that's when okay, we got to double click. And I didn't even, I was watching the double click episode 22. I didn't even realize it was the finale because I was thinking there was going to be two more episodes, you know?
Yeah,
Uh,
when we got to the end, I'm like, oh, that's the second part's got
right.
to be the
Yeah,
finale, right? Like, but no.
exactly. Yeah, exactly. And yeah, the double click gag is good, but I was just like, damn, only 22 episodes. Wow. In the middle of the show, being the biggest show on television, we're cutting episodes like season
Mhm.
length. That's a huge thing. I mean, when has that ever happened in the history of television? Usually, by the time they get to a final, like Breaking Bad even was airing its final season around this time.
Mhm.
They were stretching that shit out. I mean, like
Yeah.
that went from like 10 or whatever episodes, 12 episodes to like 16 or something in the final season, and they made it two parts so that you had like they were stretching that thing out to get viewers to watch. So
Oh
it
yeah,
seems
they've had.
strange that they were doing the opposite on Modern Family.
Oh yeah, they'd have that like with the Ozymandias episode or whatever, where it's just like takes place in, it's like a capsule episode, takes place in real time or something like that, just to really slow the pacing of the story down so they could, fit as many episodes as they can because it was such a huge show.
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Like I said, it almost never happens. But yeah, almost like I mean, I don't know. Were there anything in this episode that we missed before we?
Uh, or the finale.
Yeah.
Um, uh, oh yeah, Claire struggling to fire that person at work. Um,
Oh yeah. The Dance Revolution.
yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Um,
Yeah.
oh, and okay, again, Phil with his like, obviously Luke is ha having sex. He had a girl upstairs, and there's all these clues to it, like a hickey on his neck, like a shoe out in the yard, all this stuff, and he's just like making up excuses, like convincing himself, like, nope, he's not having sex because he doesn't want Luke to grow up.
Yeah.
Which just comes across as like that's not how it's like. Usually men aren't that sensitive about that.
Yeah.
It's more of a woman's thing, whereas like Claire just seems like I don't know if she's ever informed about it, but she certainly is oblivious to it. Doesn't really care. And there is that gag where Alex, she comes back home for the summer, and she's, said like, it's been on the board, it's written down, and everyone acts like she just surprised us by coming
Yeah.
home. That was good.
That is good. And like literally it's everyone. Like, oh, what are you doing here? Like literally everyone that comes into the house. That's funny. And then Phil, like I think references it at one point because that's the one where he's telling Andy to take that big job in Utah. That's
Yeah,
like the big thing in the finale. Again, it starts with Haley and Andy and it ends with Haley and Andy again not being together.
yeah,
So
they
almost
finally
zero
break up.
progress throughout the whole
Yeah,
season here, and it kind of ends where it began, which again, I feel like that's beneath the writer's room of the first six seasons, you know?
yeah. I mean, yeah, they just should. I don't know. I think they liked the character. Andy Devine's like, he was kind of a rising comedic star at the time, so they
Yeah.
wanted to use him. But really, they knew they were going to go back to Dylan. You
He's been
can't really
brought
do
back.
anything funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
do anything funny with Andy. Everyone likes him. He's too likable. And oh yeah, this is where Jay decides to finally return to work. Just to, had put a desk in the copy room, and he'll be out of everyone's way. but he just doesn't really.
He like doesn't fit in now that the
Yeah,
company's changed. He like doesn't know how to use the copy machine and he doesn't know anybody's name and
yeah. He doesn't
uh
know how to do any of the grunt work because
yeah.
he's always just like oversees everyone all the time. Um, and then Mitch and Cam, Mitch wants to go back to Missouri for the summer, and they're debating on who should take care of Lily. Or I'm sorry, Cam wants to go back to Missouri, and they're debating who should take care of Lily. And in the end, they just decide to all go to Missouri. Um,
Right, because they're starting to do this plot with Cam, which comes up later in these last couple seasons, where his coaching career is
mhm,
getting more advanced. So he took like a temporary job in Missouri for the summer to be like an
mhm,
assistant defensive coordinator for like a college team, like mid Missouri, not even like the big one like Mizzou or something, like their big school, big football school out there in Missouri, but just, one of the smaller local schools, which again is a stepping stone, You don't start out coaching pro ball or college ball. You start at high school level and then you start to work your way up, yeah, with assistant gigs and then yeah, eventually get a head coaching at a higher level. But like so they're starting to play that up, which comes into play much later in the series, but it's still like they're building up Cam's career now as a football coach. Uh
um,
Yeah, the custody. They have like a custody like arrangement to like send Lily back and forth between Missouri and like LA or something.
yeah,
Uh
and the okay again, Phil with this like his family games or whatever that he's
yeah,
doing, family Olympics,
family camp or something.
family
Yeah.
camp. It's I mean, I think again, Phil is just like portrayed as this guy who's trying to hold on to his kids. He can't, doesn't want them to go. He wants it to be just like they were when they were little, where they're doing these dumb, like, kind of games that no one else is interested in now that they're older.
Right. And it's like little like, field day stuff at school, like potato sack races or like,
Yeah.
yeah, egg on a spoon race, like those. And then again, there's like, yeah, like elementary school field day, family day stuff you did, at school or whatever, or like a camp in the summer. Yeah. Shit, goofy shit that like, yeah, Phil would love. And the kids are all teenagers or in their 20s now. Like,
Yeah.
so they're not into it. Yeah.
Like in the first two seasons, it would have been funny, but now it's like, dude, this is sad for him. This is really sad.
Yeah.
And they eventually, they surprise him by making, a family camp be something different, which is they got him, they're all gonna go to New York together, and that's
Again,
kind of where it ends with them being in New York. And we're like, oh, okay, so the next one is going to be the season finale, but no, the continuation, I guess, is the first season or the first episode of season 8.
yeah. That is funny too, where the phone gets stolen because they'll
Hmm.
get like a pretzel from a pretzel or hot dogs from the hot dog cart in NYC, like one of the many in NYC, and then like, let's get our picture. They're like, hey, he's like, ma'am, could you please? He like hands her the phone and she just leaves, like just takes the
Yeah,
phone and walks away. And they're like
and
posing for the picture and they all realize it, like it's funny. And then Alex is like, so we're down to 3 phones now. Like,
yeah, and they should have left it there because the last bit that they had was like everyone, I guess Jay went to Juarez, Jay and Manny and Joe and Gloria went to Juarez for her sister's wedding.
yeah, like a cousin or something. Yeah, she always has like a huge,
It's yeah,
yeah,
someone's wedding. And yeah, Mitch and Cam are in Missouri, so that was a surprise to everyone. So they're kind of all calling each other's phones, telling them, "Hey, can you water my plants? Can you check on the, when
yeah,
none of them are home." And the last one is Claire calling Cam, asking them to check on their place, and no one's home. And the last line, it should always be funny, like the best you could possibly do. And the last line was Phil yelling out into the phone, "Come to New York! The pretzels are huge!"
yeah.
And it ends. And I'm like, that, like, what? So it fell really flat. It's like they couldn't find something better for him to say of all the great Phil lines.
That's why I
I,
was so shocked it was the finale when it said that
yeah.
it started to autoplay. It said season 8. I was like, wait a minute, they only had 22 episodes. I thought there was two more. And then like, whoa, I was like, that's the finale. All right. Like I said, it kind of speaks to the, and I mean, a lot of shows do this, like you can't keep it up forever. I understand. Like, I like that show Supernatural. Well, like is a strong word here. I've watched most of it. I did tap out after like season 16 or whatever. But dude, the Eric Kripke was the original guy that started that show and was the showrunner. He said he was only going to do 5 years, and he did it for 5 years. And you can see like they do a weird arc, but the arc kind of ends in season 5, like a huge arc from the very beginning all the way to season 5. So we're talking like 150, 200 episodes of the, again, 24 episode seasons for that type of show. And you can just feel that it basically ended in season 5. And then all of the seasons after that, they've just been like beating a dead horse. And it even becomes like a joke at certain points. Like the actors have lines and stuff about how the show's still going on with them, even though it should have ended like
Mm.
5 seasons ago. I don't know. There's always a point in series where it's hard to keep it up forever. Writers' rooms change, actors change, the culture changes, whatever it is. It's just hard to keep that ball up in the air for a long period of time. About 5, 6 seasons is pretty much most, I don't care how good the writer is, that's where you're going to tap out, like that's because you just, how much more can you do with these type of things? So, okay, there's that thing. We don't want to beat them up too bad, but we've reached that point where we had the roller coaster going up, we hit the peak, and now it's kind of starting season 6 into season 7. It's starting to arch. Okay, we peaked and then it's going down. Season 5 was kind of the peak of everything running together. And then again, even with the finale, the gay wedding finale and stuff, it felt like a complete story that happened, and now it's just kind of bonus stuff. So there's that aspect. But I think the cultural stuff too just really hurts the writing overall. And this has been again, regular listeners to the show know this has been my thing about woke the whole time. I really don't even care about the politics, although I think that I don't agree with many of the politics in it. It's about that it's like being used as like a craft element now in writing and art and stuff like that. That's what pisses me off about it the most, is that it's being used as a crutch for the art creation, for the writing, for great shows and great novels and great anything that needs to be written. Okay. And then even you can extend that to any other art, visual arts, cartoons, whatever it is. Like it's just being supplanting the craft, because as long as you're making a political point, people just pretend that it's good, or pretend that it's well written, or pretend that, and then we're starting to see that in this show now. And again, it's right at the peak time, 2015. I think a lot of us, we could probably point to a couple different shows that were airing at this time that fell victim to the same thing. I don't know.
I mean, It's Always Sunny definitely did. Um,
Yeah, man, that was a rough one, dude.
yeah,
Always
because you
Sunny
think they would be the
is,
last.
yeah, perfect example of a show that, yeah, has been on too long and just, you know, those actors are in their 50s now and they're supposed to be playing like, the same, like it was funny when they were in their 30s and now it's like they're in their 50s. Just, I mean, I haven't watched the last season I watched of Always Sunny was the COVID season, uh, because I love Danny DeVito, and Glenn Howerton as Dennis is, I think, again, to talk about somebody who should have gotten Emmys. Glenn Howerton
Yeah,
should have gotten an Emmy for playing Dennis at least once in like the 18 seasons that that's been on.
yeah.
Because it's an incredible character. But even Dennis has like fallen off. I remember watching that and I was just like, it's not as funny for some. Is it because he's older, like visibly older now, that it's not as funny? Is it because they've tamed down or they maybe went too far with some of the rapey stuff? I don't know. Like it just didn't feel as funny as it did like the previous 12 seasons whenever I started watching that COVID one. COVID did a number on a lot of good shows, a lot of good writers, a lot of good,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I mean, yeah, it became just where now they're before they even start their story idea, it's like, okay, make sure ticks all these boxes off. Like you have to check all the boxes to make sure it's crafted properly. And if you do a joke, you have to have a checklist. Is it punching down? If it punches down, we can't do that.
Dude, now that
So,
you
like
mention it,
all that
I'm,
stuff, punching down became a big thing where you
oh
weren't
God.
allowed to make fun of any minority group, anyone who's been victimized, anything like that.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, that Always Sunny might have gone downhill when they made Mac. It wasn't a part of his character anymore that everyone thought he was gay. They just made him gay. Uh, that was kind of the downhill because now it eliminates a huge genre of jokes for that like they
Yeah.
were just always a part of the show. Like one of my favorite episodes, I think is like season 8 of Mac Day with Sean William Scott like guest starring. And like, yeah, it just they're all like he just Mac wants them to do all this gay stuff, and they're like, so Mac is gay, right? Like, that kind of thing. But like they still didn't come out of like Mac is gay. Then he has like a season where he gets like instead of being fat, he's like ripped. It
Mhm.
was right after that Mac gets fat season, and it's nowhere near as funny to be ripped as it is to be fat. So it doesn't work in that regard. And then they like make him totally gay, and it just, I don't know, just loses a little something there. Yeah. So maybe that's what it was with some of these things.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, another episode or season 7 in the books. It's funny because I was texting Eric about this where I was watching cable TV at night and something that I don't do that often. I was staying in a hotel and I was just browsing the TV guide thing and I texted Eric because I was just like, holy shit, like Nick at Night is playing Modern Family and Friends. And I was just thinking, I was like, man, yeah, but Modern Family is the only kind of recent sitcom besides Big Bang Theory and Modern Family are like the two last big recent sitcoms that are getting played on reruns at like Nick at Night or even like TBS, like the Super, like they were playing just Modern Family reruns, like 10 p.m. or something to like midnight. And I was like, holy crap, this really is the last American sitcom. Like, what other sitcom, like, what sitcom airing right now do we think is going to end up? I mean, this show ended like 5 years ago, 6 years ago, and it's already on the rerun circuit everywhere, and they're playing mostly earlier season episodes too. What sitcom now is even in the running for something like that? I'm sure some of them will make it there, but it's also just like it really was like the end of an era. Like it was the end of the American Empire sitcom kind of, you know. I remember like, dude, the stuff the reason I even saw some of these old sitcoms was because they would play at Nick at Night. Like
Oh yeah.
and not just the I Love Lucy stuff that would be on there, but I mean like the Facts of Life. I would never have watched that show like
Mhm.
unless it was like on when I turned on Nickelodeon past a certain point or something as a kid. Like that was the only time I would see old 80s, 70s sitcoms like yeah, the Jeffersons, uh, you know.
'Cause there was All in the Family, Mary
Yeah,
Tyler Moore Show,
yeah. Family
Good
Matters.
Times.
The
Yeah,
Cosby
Family Matters.
Show, all of these ones that aired before I was even alive, like
Yeah.
like kind of I got to watch all of them on this. And I'm just thinking, I was just trying to think, and maybe listeners can chime in too. Like, yeah, I don't know what would be the sitcom now that, even 5, 10 years from now is getting the rerun plays on late night cable or something. Yeah, like I don't understand. God, it's just such a huge shift, not just in this show, but in the culture, period. A culture that no longer produces hit sitcoms like that.
Yeah, I
That's
mean
the real
it's
change. Yeah.
a lot's being eliminated because I don't think they're going to be bringing back like, like maybe Family Matters reruns, maybe Martin or something like that. I don't know, but there's not a lot to choose from. Um, because right now I don't think there is any sitcom. Elementary, I guess that's a popular one. I guess they could, put that into syndication, but that's the only one that would really work. No, it's again, like it's a lot of Friends, Seinfeld, stuff that's kind of timeless.
Yeah.
Sex in the City is being put on like TBS and like,
Right.
places that
Yeah.
aren't HBO. So there's stuff like that. But again, nothing really recent. I mean, Modern Family ended in 2020. That has to be the last one.
Yeah. The
I mean,
last American sitcom.
because Big Bang Theory, it's like, all right, there's young Sheldon, and I guess that's popular. And then there's a spin-off of Young Sheldon that is going on too. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
I don't know. Like, it
I
just doesn't
mean,
seem like
baby
it's not.
boomers are keeping it alive right now. So once the
Mhm.
baby boomers go, which is going to be in the next decade here, listeners, for most part, and then millennials will be the biggest generation in the US. Uh, it's, that's good. It's going to go with it. Like if there's nobody watching these anymore, like on the late night, they're not even going to syndicate them anymore because why? If nobody's watching, cable TV when that generation that does is gone, cable might just cease to exist. I mean, I don't know. I mean, so we might not even get kind of syndicated. I guess they'd always be on streaming or something, so you could always watch them. But then, yeah, you have to find them, search them out, listen to this podcast, and then to go search it out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you noticed here, I think on the CW, because I've always just seen advertisements for it, like every night from 5:30 to 7:30 or something, it's an hour of Big Bang Theory followed by an hour of Two and a Half Men. It's been
Yeah.
that way for like ever since I moved, so like at least 6 years.
Yeah.
Sure, it was like that before, and they've never changed out those shows. They used to change out shows like every couple of years, move the times around, but no, it's like always those shows at those times, and they probably don't know what else to put there.
Yeah. I mean, do they even have anything else though?
Yeah,
Yeah, like more sitcoms that are even older than Modern Family. I mean, yeah, that's it.
yeah.
Like crazy. Dude, I also saw that Nickelodeon, one of their like channels just literally plays SpongeBob 24/7 now. Like I mean, like talk about like studios and stuff just disappearing. I mean, Nickelodeon Studios used to have like three, four, five original things come out every year. And now they just have a channel that plays a 25-year-old show of 24/7.
Yeah.
That's new. And I get okay, it's cable and everybody just kind of streams stuff now. So really nobody's watching it. But still, I'm just like, well, that's going to end and we're not going to have another sitcom like this ever again because of that. That's I mean, that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this is because I feel like it is like this is a place where we're capturing that like it's more than just the political stuff and the cultural stuff that's changing. It is changing. I mean, we know this already, entire business models, entire revenue streams. Like, it used to be you could have checks coming in as an actor the rest of your life or something like this, but that's not going to happen forever, now. Like, what was it? Jaleel White, the guy that played Urkel? Like
Yeah.
it was always funny because he was like rich as hell, and everyone's like, "How's this guy so rich?" It's like, well, I mean, like, dude, one, he got paid a lot of money to be on TV, but also like that shit's been on like reruns for like 25 years, and he's getting
Yeah.
checks every time it airs. Like he doesn't have to work if he doesn't want to. Like it's like the Harry Potter stuff. Like I learned that like Daniel Radcliffe and like the three main ones from Harry Potter, they're all making like 15 million a year just off of like the royalties and stuff. Like every time they sell a t-shirt or a souvenir cup with their face on it at like Harry Potter World, they're getting a check, because it's their image, their likeness on a thing. So of course they get a small percentage. But I'm like, damn, that gives them like 15 million a year, like each. So of course they're not doing anything. Why would they even bother? You don't have to work if you don't want to. You did it already,
Yeah. I mean, what are they doing? Like Daniel Radcliffe, is he doing like Broadway in England or something? Is he
Yeah.
doing theater in England?
And
Rupert Grint and all those
he's been the
guys?
one that I think he's really tried to get away from Harry Potter.
You
But he
can't.
just can't. Yeah, you can't. You're always Harry Potter. Like I saw that Weird Al Yankovic movie where he plays Weird Al,
Hmm.
and every time he's on screen, it's just like, oh, it's Harry Potter. Like, yeah, it just you'll never escape it. Good thing you're getting paid from it. So
Hmm.
that's probably why they all don't want it to be redone on HBO in that series because now they're going to change the faces and they're not going to get those checks anymore at like the
Oh, that's
Disney
true.
at the Orlando studios or whatever. Because they're gonna switch out all the characters. It's like the new Star Wars where everyone just pretends that like everyone was really into the new Star Wars one, so they like switched out all the old characters at Disney World, and you're like, what the fuck? I don't even recognize who these people are. Like,
Yeah.
like nobody cares about this random character from like the third movie or some the ninth movie or whatever.
Hmm.
But it's certainly the end of something, which is disappointing. But I'm just like, damn, this is. So that's why we're doing this, listeners. We're documenting this thing happening here. It's insane. But all right, man, I appreciate it, dude. Modern Family season 7. Here it is. Once again,
Yeah.
thanks for coming on, Eric.
No problem.
Yeah,
Thanks
man.
for having me, man.
Of course, I always appreciate it. And we've been blowing through these seasons here too. So 4 more listeners, and we're going to keep blowing through just because we're on a roll right now. But also, I'm just like, we need to finish the project, and
Yeah.
like, yeah, so we can move on from it. But yeah, whatever.
I don't even know what they're gonna do for season 11. I know I watched it when it was on, but I just can't remember. I just can't imagine what in 4 years these characters would be doing.
Yeah, I remember a few things, and I can't remember if it's 11 or 10 with those seasons where like it's really with Alex and Manny that I remember being very kind of, what are you doing here? But so we'll get to that. All right, man. Appreciate it.
Heavy.
Bored.
Heavy.
I am heavy
Bored.
I may say the male is entirely hostile. No! You know,
Resources.
life with friends is boring. We must not say so. Are you radioactive now?
Inner.
Resources, American resources.
Being bored?
Some activities are intentional, right?
It shows such a lack
Heavy.
of gratitude for life. Bored. I aspire to boredom, I
Heavy.
should say.
Bored. Heavy.
I am heavy
Bored.
Has you the night sweats and the day sweats, pal? Pal, I do.